Chapter 17. Football. This is a specific term used to describe a woman's breasts. For example, if a woman's breasts are as flat as a mirror, she would be called Wang Zai Xiao Mantu, or flat princess. If a woman's breasts are small, like yours, maybe even smaller than yours. If they're very, very small, but still a little, they would be called an egg. If they're a little bigger, like yours, they would be called an apple. Don't pull out your dagger. I was wrong. Please don't be angry. I know you are a man, but I need someone to use as an example. All right, I won't use you as an example. If it's bigger than an apple, then it's a football. The bright-eyed thief placed her dagger on Yu Yang's neck, looking as if she was going to slaughter him at any moment. No, there are many types that are bigger than an apple. Look at you. Aren't you lacking in this area of research? Above apples, there are also pears, papayas, and coconuts. Only after that would there be volleyball and football. There are many different types of them. This is all knowledge. I won't tell normal people about it. Yu Yang acted like a scholar. That makes sense. When the mercenaries in the room heard this, they all praised Yu Yang's breast classification method. Although they didn't understand what Wang Zai Xiao Mantu, volleyball and football were, they still felt that the arrangement from small to large was very vivid. It was accurate and extremely vivid, making it easy for people to remember. It was simply deeply engraved in their hearts. It seemed that this little thief named Tai Tan really had a very profound understanding of women's breasts. When Yu Yang heard this, he was immensely pleased with himself, just like a great sage who had published a penetrating and unique academic theory in front of thousands of students. The bright-eyed thief resisted the urge to stab this brat to death with her dagger with great difficulty. She fiercely stepped on Yu Yang's feet, threw the form into his hands, and turned around to leave. Yu Yang hurriedly threw the form in front of the bald old man, paid the money, received the mercenary star badge, and then followed the bright-eyed thief. Brother, I'll treat you to a drink. Listen to me, that girl's breasts are really big. She runs really fast. One look and I can tell that she's a shy and undeveloped virgin. By the time Yu Yang had chased after her, the bright-eyed thief had already disappeared like a wisp of smoke. It was as if they had never appeared before. While Yu Yang was whistling and swaggering away, the bright-eyed thief appeared in the darkness with a gleaming dagger in her hand. Several times, she wanted to stab Yu Yang's back, but in the end, she restrained herself. The bright-eyed thief spat at Yu Yang's back before disappearing in a flash. Facing the gentle night breeze, Yu Yang's face was full of smiles. He smiled happily and brightly. Whitestone City, Assassin Guild. Like all the assassin guilds in the world, Baishir's Assassin Guild also gave people a gloomy and terrifying feeling. Although there was a light inside, it was only the size of a bean, and it gave the illusion that the light would go out at any moment. It was fine if the light wasn't bright, but it gave off a kind of gloomy and strange feeling. Yu Yang gently pushed the door open and entered. After seeing the environment inside the room, his expression was slightly surprised. Inside the Assassin Guild, other than an old man in hemp clothes who was dozing off at the table, there was no one else. The old man in hemp clothes had a head full of white hair. He was leaning on the table, and his figure seemed especially thin and small. He looked old and weak, as if his body and mind were rotten. Of course, if one only looked at the surface, this old man in hemp clothes who had 1 foot in the grave could be blown away by a gust of wind. Or perhaps, if he slept on the table like this, it would seem like he would fall into a deep sleep and never wake up again. But in Yu Yang's eyes, he had another kind of strange feeling. He, who had already reached the innate realm and possessed the mysterious 3 styles and the invisible sword Qi, would not be able to defeat this old man even if it was a sneak attack. In Yu Yang's heart, this old man in hemp clothes was even more frightening than a sleeping lion. He felt like a sleeping dragon. Hello, I'm here to sign up for the Assassin Guild. If it was said that in the Mercenary Guild, Yu Yang's politeness was faked, then right now, it was respect from the bottom of his heart. Young man, assassins are a bloody and violent profession. Are you really prepared? The old man in hemp clothes slowly raised his head. His appearance was ordinary and his face was full of wrinkles. Even if an ordinary person met him 10 times on the street, they would not notice his existence. let alone remember his appearance. He looked at Yu Yang with his dull old eyes. Yu Yang tried his best to keep calm and controlled his breathing. He even revealed a smile in his eyes. Although he could not see through this old man in hemp clothes, Yu Yang discovered that this old man was also observing him. This proved that he could not see through him either. Yu Yang's gaze naturally met the old man's gaze. With a smile in his eyes, he replied, "Young people always yearn for blood and violence. Don't you think so?" The old man in hemp clothes drooped his eyelids. He did not agree nor disagree. With an apathetic expression, he said, "You don't need to pay to join the Assassin Guild. You don't need to fill in a form. You don't need to prove your identity, but you need to go through a test. You can choose to take the academic test or the combat test." "What's the academic test? What's the combat test?" Yu Yang was really curious. Why did assassins need to take the academic test? This wasn't even a university entrance exam. The academic test is to answer some questions about killing techniques. The combat test is to directly kill people. If you want to join, go to the Black Mountain 50 miles away from the city and bring back the head of any bandit there before dawn. When the old man in hemp clothes finished speaking, Yu Yang hurriedly shook his head and waved his hands, indicating that he wanted to take the academic test. To Yu Yang, killing people was not a problem at all. In this soaring dragon continent, other than the beautiful woman, the black-clothed Yu Bing, and the little girl, everyone else was like an NPC in a game to him. He wouldn't feel any guilt even if he killed them. Moreover, he had originally wanted to kill a few mercenaries who were wanted by their enemies after killing people. While testing his own strength, he could also cultivate the spitting thorny flower at the same time. However, Yu Yang was extremely lazy. He wanted him to travel through the night, run 50 miles away from the city, sneak up the mountain, kill a bandit, and then hurry back with the head. He wouldn't do it. If it wasn't for the Assassin Guild's special vengeance wanted list, Yu Yang wouldn't even come to a place like the Assassin Guild. The Assassin Guild was different from the Mercenary Guild. The people here were usually people with real strength. The longer he stayed here, the easier it would be for his identity to be exposed. If you want to take the academic test, then please make a choice. If you want to kill someone, and there's a sharp sword, a strong beast, or a blank piece of paper in front of you, which would you choose as your killing tool? The old man in hemp clothes asked. Chapter 18. That depends on who I want to kill. Yu Yang frowned. If the target is a mercenary, what would you choose? The hemp-clothed old man paused and asked. I choose a blank piece of paper. Yu Yang laughed when he heard this. This kind of question was not a test of killing techniques, but rather a test of killing wisdom. How could this stump him? How do you use a piece of paper to kill someone? The hemp-clothed old man frowned slightly. It's simple. I'll disguise it as a treasure map and send it to the target. Then, I'll use a poster to announce to the world that he has a treasure map. Then, I won't even need to kill this mercenary. There will be countless people fighting to kill him. Yu Yang shrugged his shoulders and replied in a carefree and unrestrained manner. If the target is not a mercenary but a merchant, what would you choose? The hemp-clothed old man nodded his head slowly and changed the question. I choose a blank piece of paper. I will disguise it as a miscalculated bill. When the target merchant is concentrating on calculating his assets and income, I will ambush him and kill him. Yu Yang answered. When the hemp-clothed old man heard this, his frail and weak hands suddenly stopped trembling. He asked, what if the target is a government official? Would you still choose a blank piece of paper as a killing tool? Why not? I will disguise it as an emperor's edict. When the official kneels down to receive it, I will give him a cup of poison wine. Yu Yang had seen this many times in movies. No matter how powerful an upright official was, he would not be able to win against an emperor's edict. He would not be able to win against a cup of poison wine. If the monarch wants the minister to die, the minister has no choice but to die. Since ancient times, this saying could not be wrong no matter where it was put. Not to mention the feudal era, even in the Crab Dynasty, or even in the soaring dragon continent. This saying was also a well-known saying. The hemp-clothed old man raised his eyelids, his dull eyes showing surprise. He looked at Yu Yang for 2 to 3 seconds. His expression changed in an instant, but he recovered quickly. In the end, He nodded his head stupidly, confirming Yu Yang's shameless killing plan. Yu Yang was slightly happy. He thought that he would be able to obtain the qualification to be an assassin. Unexpectedly, the old man continued to ask, "If the target you want to kill is a woman, what would you choose?" As soon as he heard the word woman, Yu Yang's wolf heart started to stir, and his thoughts started to wander. That depends on whether she's young or beautiful. If she's both young and beautiful, then I'll still choose a blank piece of paper. This time, what will you disguise it as? The old man asked. No, it's not a disguise. I will sincerely write my love letter on that blank piece of paper. However, if she doesn't agree, then I will kill her and complete the mission, Yu Yang said with slight regret. The hempen-clothed old man suggested, what if she agreed? Yu Yang was delighted when he heard this. If she agreed to my courtship, then why would I kill her? I'll take her home as my concubine. The old man was speechless. Although he had lived for many years, he had never seen someone as shameless as Yu Yang before. The thick-skinned Yu Yang didn't feel anything at all. His face was filled with pride, making anyone who saw him have the urge to beat him up. The old man muttered to himself for a while, then slowly said, one last question. If you accepted the mission and found out that the target was your family, what would you do? When Yu Yang heard this, the smile on his face didn't change, but a cold light flashed in his eyes. In my heart, there are only two kinds of people in this world. One is the living, and the other is the dead. My family belongs to the former. No matter who wants to kill my family, I will turn him into a dead person. The old man lifted his eyes and looked at Yu Yang. There seemed to be a strange smile in his eyes. An assassin with feelings, love, and weaknesses is not a good assassin. To me, it doesn't matter if you're a good assassin. As long as you're a living assassin, it's fine. Yu Yang raised his eyebrows, and his expression became serious. I've heard of this saying before. Love and hate can give people unimaginable power. Weaknesses are like double-edged swords. They can be fatal, but they can also help people improve. Hearing Yu Yang's words, the old man didn't speak for a long time. After coming out of the assassin guild, not only did Yu Yang obtain the qualifications to be an assassin, he also obtained a Vengeance Hunt Bloodrose map. This Bloodrose map could be integrated into a grimoire, providing information about the Vengeance Hunt at any time. Even without a grimoire, the owner could open the map once a day. As long as it was nighttime, the target of the Vengeance Hunt would appear as a red dot on the map. If a target was chosen, the red dot on the map would expand. At the same time, a Bloodrose dagger would appear, accurately pinpointing the target's location. As for the targets of the Vengeance Hunt, they were usually malicious killers. When a warrior killed someone with malicious intent, if the person before his death used a vengeance scroll, his image would be remembered. At the same time, his name would appear on the Assassin Guild's vengeance list, or on the Bloodrose map. It could also be the victim's family members. They would go to the Assassin Guild and use the bounty on the killer. The duration of the Vengeance Hunt was usually half a year. If the killer was successfully avenged, or if the victim's family members did not pursue the matter, then the killer's red name would disappear from the vengeance list and the Bloodrose map. Yu Yang didn't have the heart to help the people get rid of evil. He only wanted to obtain this extremely useful free map. Moreover, malicious killers were usually quite strong. If they were used as fertilizer for the thorny flower, it would be the most suitable choice. After obtaining the Bloodrose map, Yu Yang began his first hunt for vengeance. He set his sights on a fellow nicknamed Rock. Although he didn't know what kind of atrocious things this guy had done, Yu Yang discovered that there were at least 8 families who had formed a vengeance hunt for him. The bounty was 5 gold coins. The bounty wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. 5 gold coins was the price of killing a mutated lightning leopard in the mercenary guild. If converted to RMB, it would be equivalent to 50,000 yuan. According to the price of the underworld in China, chopping off a hand was 2,000, cutting off a leg was 5,000, and killing a person was 30,000 to 50,000. Of course, in the Soaring Dragon continent, this was the lowest price for a vengeance hunt. On the vengeance list, the highest bounty was more than 1,000 gold coins. It was just that Yu Yang couldn't accept that kind of high vengeance hunt. Right now, he was still a novice assassin without any fame or experience. Yu Yang had the mentality that even a mosquito's leg was meat. 5 gold coins wasn't too little. In any case, killing monsters and leveling up started with killing small monsters. Who would want to kill a big boss right from the start? Wasn't that courting death? Rock, who was being hunted by the vengeance hunt, didn't hide. He walked on the street very openly, gulping down yellow wine. If it was someone else, they might be afraid of an assassin coming to take revenge. But for a mercenary like him, who had a backer and a certain level of strength, ordinary assassins wouldn't be willing to provoke him for 5 gold coins. Hence, he had been living comfortably. Wasn't it just selling out his friends for glory and killing a few companions? What's wrong with that? In front of money, anyone would do that. When he had the time, he would go and rape those bastards' widows, then kill their children. Let's see who would dare to hunt him for revenge. Rock was very pleased. He was already a little drunk from drinking, but he felt that he had found a strong person. Strong people can do whatever they want, isn't that right? Just as Rock was laughing complacently, he suddenly noticed a masked thief standing in the middle of the quiet street. The thief's eyes were as bright as stars, and his voice was as clear as a stream flowing through a stone forest. Are you the Rock on the vengeance list? Chapter 19. You're an assassin? You're here for revenge? Rock immediately sobered up from his drunken stupor. Although he was arrogant, he was not stupid. He was definitely not the kind of fool who would die without knowing why or why. Although he had drunk a lot of wine, his mind was still clear, and he was not completely drunk. As a mercenary, especially a mercenary who had betrayed his companions, he didn't want to die before he finished spending his gold. He also didn't want to be killed in a drunken stupor without any strength to fight back. These few days, no assassins came looking for him, but it did not mean that he was not on guard at all. Vigilance was the most basic thing for every living mercenary. The person who came was, of course, Yu Yang. He smiled and said, "If you don't mind, I want to take your head and exchange it for some money. If you have any last words, you can say them now. I can give you 1 minute. You want to kill me?" Hearing this, Rock laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "These are your last words? Very concise. Since it's like this, I'll send you on your way." Yu Yang shrugged his shoulders and walked closer step by step. "Stone skin." Rock roared and took out a black crystal from his bosom, mumbling something. Immediately, a ball of black light appeared from the summoning crystal. That ball of black light was like fog and smoke. From it, a huge and dark stone man quickly appeared. It opened its arms and hugged Rock. In the blink of an eye, it fused with Rock and disappeared. At this time, Rock's entire body had become dark like a stone man. He no longer had human skin. He looked very strange. Yu Yang did not make a sneak attack. Instead, he waited quietly and observed carefully. He discovered that his first opponent was an elemental-type mercenary, and this guy's summoned beast should be an elemental-type stone skin. Among the 4 main categories of elemental-type, strengthening-type, beasts, and special-type beasts, the special-type beasts were mainly used for life skills or for reconnaissance. Normal mercenaries would not choose them. The requirements for elemental-type beasts were very high, and they were not what mercenaries liked to summon. Mercenaries prefer to strengthen their beasts and beasts, because strengthening beasts could directly increase their combat power. This was the key to saving their lives. Beasts, on the other hand, could use the beast strength to attack the enemy. With a powerful beast as a battle partner, it would be a great help. This was also very important in battles. A good beast could often decide the outcome of a battle. More than 80% of the mercenaries would choose strengthening-type beasts first. After all, they lived on the edge of a knife's edge, so protecting their own lives was very important. If he could summon 2 beasts, then his second choice would definitely be a beast type. Moreover, it would be a beast type that had an obvious advantage, a bird type. In front of Yu Yang, this Rock had actually summoned an element-type beast, which surprised him a little. Through this unusual situation, it could be said that the strength of this Rock was not bad. His strength far surpassed that of an ordinary mercenary. According to the Vengeance Hunt, he was a level 2 high warrior. In terms of strength, he was 5 ranks higher than the level 1 apprentice, Yu Yang. If it wasn't for the abnormal strength of the guy from another world, Yu Yang, this difference in levels would be insurmountable. in a battle, unless it was a beast with an element that countered each other. If there was a huge difference in levels, there would be no suspense. 99% of the time, the one with the higher level would win. Come, brat, come take my head. Rock laughed sinisterly as he pulled out a gleaming steel axe from his waist. He was confident that his body was invulnerable to swords and spears. As long as the axe in his hand hit the opponent would definitely be heavily injured or even die. Because of his extremely strong defense, tyrannical strength, and sharp attacks, there were almost no mercenaries who dared to provoke him normally. This masked thief in front of him must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. He must have been possessed to overestimate his own abilities and come to die. Could it be that he didn't know that a strength-type barbarian axe was a natural counter to a thief with fast legs? Seeing this, Yu Yang laughed. He didn't rush forward to attack, but instead turned and ran. Such an action made Rock stunned. What? This brat saw that the situation was bad and wanted to run away? The dark skin at the corner of the Rock man's lips wrinkled strangely. It was as if a stone man was sneering, revealing a strange, mocking smile. He immediately chased after him. Although his footsteps weren't as fast as Yu Yang's, with the support of his stone skin, he didn't feel tired at all. He was like those stone puppets, never tired. He might not be able to catch up to this thief in a short period of time, but after a long time, when the opponent's stamina was greatly depleted, it would be easy for him to catch up to this hateful thief. Rock had already tried the same method of chasing and killing more than 20 times, but he had never let his opponent escape successfully. He believed that this time would be no exception. Chasing to a desolate farmyard, Rock saw that his opponent's speed had greatly decreased, as if his stamina was running out. He was immediately overjoyed. Rock raised the steel axe in his hand and threw it heavily towards Yu Yang's back. Yu Yang slightly leaned to the side, dodging the flying axe, and stopped. He looked around and nodded. This place is not bad, quiet and dark, a good place to kill someone. Not kill, but be killed. Rock saw that Yu Yang couldn't escape, but still dared to be stubborn, thinking that this brat really didn't know what was good for him. If you have money, for example, 100 gold, I can consider letting you go and let you redeem your life. Yu Yang felt that a bounty of 5 gold was a bit too little. If this guy in front of him was a millionaire, then he wouldn't be in a hurry to kill him. He could squeeze some money out of him first. This is the most ridiculous joke I've heard in my life. Rock spat on the ground in disdain. Why don't you let me kneel and beg for mercy? I usually don't let people have a chance to beg for mercy. Yu Yang used the tip of his foot to pick up the steel axe that was deeply embedded in the ground, lightly grabbing it in his hand. He strode towards Rock, and before Rock could even raise his fist to attack, the axe chopped at his opponent's chest. There was only a ding sound. The steel axe in Rock's chest emitted a strange sound of metal and stone colliding. At the same time, a long string of sparks flew. On Rock's chest, other than a slightly gray mark, there were no other injuries. The steel axe chopped down heavily, but the result was not a single wound, not a single drop of blood flowed. The defensive power of the elemental type Rock's skin was really abnormal. Yu Yang looked at the steel axe in his hand. The sharp edge of the axe even had a few small nicks. Rock used his hand to lightly stroke the mark on his chest, proudly sneering, "I say, brat, now, do you know how powerful this master is? This master's body is invulnerable. Even the sharp teeth of tigers and lions can't do anything to me. Just you, a little bastard who hasn't even grown hair. Want to kill me?" Chapter 20. Your skin is indeed stone skin, but your internal organs shouldn't be, right? You let me chop you. On the surface, your skin didn't seem to be injured, but you touched your chest with your hand. What does this mean? It means that you felt a dull pain in your chest, right? Since you feel pain, you should also feel dizzy. Yu Yang didn't show any fear on his face. Instead, he laughed loudly. He dodged Rock's giant fist and leaped into the air. His wrist skillfully turned the blade of the axe and used the thick back of the axe to strike Rock's bald head. He circulated his innate chi and heavily knocked on it. Immediately, there was a loud sound of metal and stone colliding. Rock's body swayed, and his thick hands covered his head. He was in so much pain that he wanted to howl. But before his voice could leave his throat, his eyes rolled back and his body fell to the ground. If it was someone else who knocked on his head, he might be able to endure it. But against an innate rancor like Yu Yang's innate qi, his stone skin was like a piece of paper that couldn't defend against it. The innate qi directly penetrated his brain. Although his head didn't split open, he suffered a severe concussion. Yu Yang, who had won the first battle, threw away the slightly deformed axe and carelessly clapped his hands, as if he had done the most insignificant thing. But if there were people watching, if they saw a beginner apprentice defeating a level 2 brave man in one move, and Rock, who was famous for his bravery in Whitestone City, their jaws would probably drop to the ground. But in the eyes of an innate rancor, it wouldn't be surprising if an innate rancor knocked out a level 2 brave man. That was because it was easier than eating beans. All right, let me see how much money I can get from the first monster I kill. Yu Yang's mentality was purely to kill monsters for treasure, not to take revenge. When Rock felt a basin of cold water splashed on his face, he woke up in a daze and realized that he was tied up like a palm. He wanted to struggle, but Rock immediately realized that this kind of binding was very skillful and deadly. His arms and legs were tightly bound, and the rod was straight in the middle. He couldn't bend his joints at all, so he couldn't use any strength at all, let alone break the rope. Yu Yang was counting all the valuables on the rock. When he saw that the guy had woken up, he asked with dissatisfaction, "Pauper, other than the money you have on you, do you have any other money that exceed 100 gold coins? If you do, then I can consider letting you live." Yu Yang didn't have the heart of a bodhisattva. He only wanted money. "I'm going to kill you." Rock was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. "I understand how you feel, but you have to face reality. Let's talk about the ransom again, shall we? Do you really not have any savings?" Yu Yang asked. "Let me go immediately. Do you know who I am?" "I am the #1 general of the Violent Beast mercenary group. If you dare kill me, then Captain Tai Kwong will immediately hunt you down for vengeance. When he finds you, the Violent Beast mercenary group will exterminate your entire family." Although Rock had been captured, his attitude was still as arrogant as ever. Exterminate my entire family? I think I'm a little scared." Yu Yang laughed when he heard this. The Violent Beast mercenary group was one of the 3 great mercenary groups in Whitestone City. Of course, Yu Yang had heard of them before. He also knew that their captain, Tai Kwong, was a tyrant in the city. However, no matter how fierce Tai Kwong was, he was only a normal person. Even if Tai Kwong knew that Rock was killed by Yu Yang, he wouldn't dare to take revenge on the Yu clan, one of the 4 great clans. This was the advantage of having a clan's influence. Perhaps the clan wouldn't value every younger generation and wouldn't nurture every grandchild. However, if someone dared to disregard the dignity of a large clan and kill someone, even if the person killed was a good-for-nothing, the clan would definitely mobilize a large force and dispatch elites to take revenge. They would redeem their disgraced reputation and use force to protect the clan's dignity and honor. Yu Yang had never thought of using the Yu clan's name to do things. Moreover, in his eyes, this Rock was only an ant. Moreover, the Violent Beast mercenary group's #1 general was only at this level. It seemed that no matter how powerful he was, there was still a limit. "Let me go, or else I'll tear you apart alive." Rock felt extremely humiliated when he heard Yu Yang's words. He had never felt so uncomfortable in his entire life. He realized that in Yu Yang's eyes, he wasn't even a person, but a pitiful little worm. "Looks like we can end our conversation now. Since you don't have money, then I'm sorry. Thorny flower, this is your flower fertilizer. It's time to eat." Yu Yang ordered the thorny flower to swallow Rock. This was because swallowing a living person could obtain more energy than swallowing a corpse, and the chances of a mutation were higher, especially for a warrior who was still in one body with his beast. After the thorny flower swallowed mutation, there was a small chance that it would obtain the enemy's beast's ability, or some of the thorny flower's own abilities would be greatly strengthened. That was why Yu Yang didn't kill Rock just now. He decided to let the thorny flower swallow this guy alive. Rock looked up and saw that there was a thorny flower opening its terrifying mouth. revealing a mouth full of sharp teeth ready to swallow him. He was immediately scared out of his wits. Although death was scary, with a kacha sound and his head falling to the ground, it was over. Now, it wasn't as simple as dying. He was being swallowed alive by a thorny flower, slowly digesting his body. That was too terrifying. He didn't know how long he would have to be digested before he could truly die. This kind of suffering was worse than dying immediately. Rock couldn't care about being brave anymore, and hurriedly begged for mercy. If this brat wanted to kill him with an axe, then he definitely wouldn't beg for mercy. The other party wouldn't be able to kill his stone skin with an axe, but this kind of swallowing alive was too scary. Yu Yang indifferently waved his hands. "I'm sorry. I need to collect money for killing people. If you don't have 100 gold, then don't say anything." Rock felt as if the sky had been struck by lightning. Where would he get 100 gold? If he had 100 gold, why would he still be a mercenary? He could just go to the countryside and buy land, buy a house, take in female slaves, and become a rich man in the countryside. Seeing that the thorny flower was opening its mouth wide, preparing to swallow his legs, he anxiously shouted, "Let me go. Let me go. I'll give you 100 gold. Tomorrow, when the sun rises, I'll definitely give you 100 gold." Dry Rock General, whose whole body doesn't even have 10 gold, please don't lie. Lying is wrong. Yu Yang would never fall for this kind of trick. He was even more disdainful of empty promises. Stroking the thorny flower's corolla, he ordered, "You better start swallowing from the head. Otherwise, if this fellow starts shouting loudly, it won't be good if it wakes up the surrounding neighbors. This'll have to work in the day. Speaking of which, I'm a little hungry. You slowly enjoy yourself. I'm going to eat supper." Rock was so scared that he screamed like a pig being slaughtered. However, Yu Yang turned a deaf ear to him, whistling as he swaggered away. "Spare me, spare me." Rock was crying. "I believe that when you killed them, those people must have begged for mercy. But did you spare them?" "No. You did very well. I should learn from you." Yu Yang turned around and smiled innocently, looking incomparably carefree. Chapter 21. On the second night, Yu Yang's target was the level 3 intermediate hero Tai Kwang. He was the boss of the rock who was swallowed by the thorny flower last night, the leader of the violent beast mercenary group, and the leader of the 3 tyrants in Whitestone City. Although he was a hero, Tai Kwang, who was nicknamed Iron Armor Beast, was a real villain. In Whitestone City, he bullied people, extorted people. This guy was also a homicidal maniac. He killed people harmlessly, yet he was hunted down by dozens of families. As a descendant of the Tai family, one of the most prestigious families in the Xia Kingdom, Tai Kwang had the protection of a huge family. No one in the Whitestone City Assassin Guild dared to touch him, which made him even more arrogant. Moreover, the Whitestone City Master's most beloved concubine was given to him by this guy. The Whitestone City Master was often whispered to by his concubine, so he only opened one eye and closed the other. Hence, in Whitestone City, no one dared to touch Tai Kwang. Because Yu Yang's first move was very smooth, he decided to increase the difficulty tonight. He wanted to touch Tai Kwang, who no one dared to touch. Tai Kwang was different from Rock, a rank 2 high warrior. He was a rank 3 middle hero. In the Soaring Dragon Continent, no matter who it was, whether it was a prince or a princess, as long as they were level 1, they were all called apprentice. If they rose to level 2, they would be called warriors. If they rose to level 3, they would be heroes. Level 3 heroes. This title was actually the dividing line for warriors in the Soaring Dragon Continent. If a warrior was unable to climb to the level of a hero in his entire life, he would be a complete mediocrity. He was destined to be cannon fodder his entire life. On the other hand, a warrior who could advance to the level of a hero and surpass, it could barely be called a powerhouse and be valued by others. Level 3 heroes didn't seem high, but in reality, it wasn't easy to reach. Any warrior who wanted to become a hero, other than having enough strength, they had to pass the death trial in order to obtain the hero medal issued by the country and become a hero that everyone envied. If it was said that a level 1 apprentice could defeat a level 2 brave man under special circumstances, it was still possible. However, It was impossible for a level 2 warrior to defeat a level 3 hero. A level 3 hero was the first barrier on the road to becoming strong. Only those who could surpass it could be called strong. Of course, the strength of a level 3 hero was only in the eyes of ordinary people. In the eyes of an inborn expert, any martial artist below level 6 sect leader was just like an insignificant ant. Compared to those innate rankers in the soaring dragon continent who had cultivated for hundreds of years, Yu Yang was an innate ranker who had only cultivated for 3 months. Of course, there was a huge gap between him and the innate rankers who had cultivated for hundreds of years. Tai Kwong, who was nicknamed the Iron Armor Beast, was a famous expert among the mercenaries of Whitestone City. Ordinary mercenaries couldn't compare to him. However, if he was hit by Yu Yang's innate, invisible sword chi, he would definitely be killed in an instant. This was the difference between an innate ranker and a normal ranker. However, Yu Yang had never thought of killing Tai Kwong with his sword chi. He wanted to capture him alive and let the thorny flower swallow him alive, turning Tai Kwong into fertilizer for the thorny flower like a rock. Although the thorny flower had swallowed a level 2 high-tier rock last night, after digesting it, Yu Yang discovered that although its strength had increased quite a bit, it still hadn't mutated. After swallowing a living person, it wasn't even bronze level. Looks like raising a humanoid mythical beast level golden crown thorny flower queen was not an easy task. Fortunately, the soaring dragon continent might not have many other things, but there were a lot of bad guys. Yu Yang never worried about the problem of fertilizer. Not to mention the entire soaring dragon continent, just the Whitestone City alone had more than 100 people on the Vengeance Wanted list. One could only imagine how rich the fertilizer was. During the Vengeance Hunt, not only could one temper one's combat experience, one could also nurture the thorny flower at the same time, and one could even earn some money. Who wouldn't do such a good thing? Yu Yang arrived at the tavern in the east of the city. He looked around and found that there were no girls with breasts as big as footballs. However, there were a few girls whose breasts were as big as papayas. With just a wave of his hand, a few papaya nurses surrounded him in surprise. "Young master, do you want to have fun? How do you want to play? Do you want to fly solo or in pairs? Are you looking down on me? This young master will buy all of you." Yu Yang acted like Kong, e.g. buying wine. He threw out a handful of silver coins, dazzling the eyes of the people around him. When the papaya nurses saw this, they all screamed as if they had reached an orgasm. Other than snatching the money away at a speed that would put a thief to shame, they also used the breast tactic and surrounded Yu Yang, almost suffocating him to death. Seeing a few big breasts escorting the little thief, Yu Yang, out. All the men in the tavern were extremely envious of this boy's luck with women. A group sex? Strong enough. At the same time, they were a little worried about the little thief's body. They thought that this boy wouldn't be sucked dry by those girls who were unsatisfied with their desires, right? The men in the tavern laughed out loud. This one said that she would see the cleaner sweep out a little skeleton from the garbage tomorrow, and that one said that if the little thief could survive, he would probably be bettered in for at least a month. As for the great sperm-sucking technique of those papaya nurses, they had all experienced it before. Not to mention a group sex, even one of them alone would be hard to deal with. If he was besieged by them, only death awaited him. In a corner of the tavern, the bright-eyed thief who had helped Yu Yang fill out the form last night sat quietly. When the bright-eyed thief saw Yu Yang happily struggling in the sea of breasts, she spat in disdain. Before she finished her glass of wine, everyone suddenly saw the little thief who was definitely going to die push open the door and enter again. It can't be so fast. Is he a quick shooter? Even if this little thief is a quick shooter, this is too fast. If he could finish so quickly, why would he look for so many girls? Couldn't he just find one? Brother, you haven't taken off your pants yet, right? A burly man couldn't help but be curious and shouted, "You're too wasteful. If you can't use it alone, you can ask us to help. We can be very helpful. Brother, don't you think you're wasting money?" "Big brothers, I'm just a little errand boy. I'm just helping someone call for help. How could I have a share in such a good thing like group sex?" Yu Yang replied with a grin. TSK. Everyone fainted. They thought that they had met a rich young master, and were envious for a long time. But they didn't expect that he was just a little errand boy. But thinking about it, even if this little thief was rich, it would be strange if he was willing to call for so many girls at once to have sex. Yu Yang really knew how to win people's hearts. He took out 2 silver coins and threw them on the table, saying loudly, "It's fate that we meet. I'll use tonight's commission to invite big brothers to a drink. And at the same time, I wish the guy who is doing this group sex will die from sperm exhaustion." Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed. Everyone felt that this little thief was really smart and smart. Since he was inviting them to a drink, they naturally wouldn't stand on ceremony and raise their cups and cheered. The bright-eyed thief who was sitting in the corner snorted and didn't touch the wine cup that the waitress who was wearing sexy clothes, revealing her cleavage, and wearing bunny ears brought to them. Yu Yang sat down on the opposite side and said with a grin, "Brother, I knew that I would meet you here. How is it? That girl's chest is as big as a soccer ball. Doesn't it feel spectacular? Don't be shy. A pure virgin like you should learn more. Moreover, this is also the way of human relationships. Confucius once said that food and lust are natural." Just listen to what a wise saying this is. The bright-eyed thief rolled her eyes and really wanted to kick this lecherous brat to death. "You guys are brothers. I can't just stand by and watch. Tonight, let's get a room. No matter what, you have to lose your virginity. It's okay if you don't have money. It's my treat." Yu Yang patted the bright-eyed thief's shoulder generously. Chapter 22. How boring. The bright-eyed thief brushed away Yu Yang's hand, stood up, and turned to leave. How could it be boring? Love between a man and a woman, mutual affection, romantic entanglement. This is the most meaningful thing in the world. Yu Yang hurriedly chased after the bright-eyed thief as he laughed loudly. "Brother, don't be embarrassed if you don't know any bedroom techniques. I can teach you. Although I don't have much experience, we can slowly study together. If you have something to say, we can talk it out. Don't use your dagger." The bright-eyed thief's anger flared up when she heard this, and she stopped in her tracks. With a wave of her hand, a dagger flashed with a cold light. Seeing the dagger at his neck, Yu Yang hurriedly raised his hands obediently, indicating his surrender. "Get lost. I'm not the same kind of person as you." The bright-eyed thief resisted the urge to kill this brat, and coldly squeezed out a sentence from the gap between her white teeth. "No way? You don't like women?" Yu Yang's expression was very exaggerated. "You can't be the legendary popular guy, right? What's a popular guy?" The bright-eyed thief didn't understand. In this world, there are 2 types, attack and defense. Attack means that you are responsible for plowing and sowing. What you do is extremely tiring and hard labor. Defense is different. Defense means that you are responsible for enjoying life and moaning. What you do is a comfortable and beautiful job. "Aya, don't hit me." Before Yu Yang could finish speaking, the bright-eyed thief had already punched his face. "I'm warning you, if you see me in the future, you better take the initiative to stay away from me. Otherwise, I'll kill you." The bright-eyed thief was very angry, but Yu Yang had to admit that this fellow's angry appearance was also quite good-looking. Some people in this world were just like this. No matter if they were smiling or angry, they were still very good-looking. People couldn't help but like them when they saw them. On the contrary, some people were different. No matter if they were smiling or angry, they would always look very disgusting, making people want to vomit more and more. If they looked at them for a long time, they would even have the urge to kill themselves by banging their heads against the wall. Yu Yang felt that this bright-eyed thief belonged to the former category. Moreover, the more one looked at her, the more they liked her. When he saw that the bright-eyed thief was angry, he wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he smiled even more happily. "Don't worry, I'll hide far away, because I'm afraid you'll fall in love with me." The bright-eyed thief originally wanted to give Yu Yang a flying kick and leave. However, upon hearing his words, she immediately felt that this brat in front of her had gone mad. "What did you say? I like you?" The bright-eyed thief couldn't believe her ears. Of course, an outstanding and handsome man like me is very popular among both beauties and handsome men. However, please pay attention to one thing. Even though I am loved by everyone, loved by all, known by all, unrivaled under the heavens, the jade-faced little wolf lord. I only like beautiful women. I have no feelings for beautiful men, so please don't like me so casually. Yu Yong raised his head narcissistically, his nose pointing to the sky, and was beside himself with joy. When the bright-eyed thief heard this, she almost fell to the ground. It wasn't that she hadn't seen narcissistic people before, but this was the first time she had seen such a narcissistic person. Compared to this brat's face, the walls of Whitestone City were as thin as a piece of paper. The bright-eyed thief reckoned that even if all the narcissists in the world were gathered together and kneaded into one person, compared to this brat in front of her, their level of narcissism wouldn't even be a tenth of his. The bright-eyed thief rejoiced in her heart that she wasn't a narcissist. Otherwise, in front of this brat, it was very likely that she would feel so inferior that she would kill herself with a dagger. Only the heavens knew how such a pervert could be born in this world. That's right, other than a pervert, no other adjectives could accurately describe this cheeky, lecherous, and extremely narcissistic guy in front of her. Although many handsome men have expressed their love to me, my heart only belongs to beauties, and forever. Yu Yong firmly clenched his fist. Don't worry, an outstanding toad like you. I won't fall in love with you, and forever. The bright-eyed thief inwardly ridiculed Yu Yong, saying that he was a toad lusting after swan meat, indulging in the wildest fantasies. Then I'm relieved, brother. I've always been worried about this problem. Now it's fine, so you don't like men, but like beauties just like me. Phew, now I can finally put down the boulder in my heart. Since you don't like men, but like beauties, then it's easy. This is very good. We have the same language. We have the same hobbies. Come, let's go pick up girls together. The erudite me has always wanted to write a book on picking up girls, to guide the millions of lost youths in this world. Right now, I'm lacking a partner to cooperate with. Yu Yong patted his chest, exaggeratedly expressing that his heart, which had been hanging in suspense for a long time, had finally returned to its normal place. He then passionately hugged the bright-eyed thief's shoulder, as if he had found a like-minded comrade. I say, you're so erudite, you should finish your book on picking up girls by yourself. I have other things to do, so I won't accompany you anymore. The bright-eyed thief laughed coldly, her laughter filled with disdain towards this self-proclaimed erudite guy. She thought to herself, other than a brain full of lust, what else did this brat have? Looks like you're very suspicious of my genuine knowledge. Brother, you've completely misunderstood. When you understand even a 10,000th of my vast knowledge, I believe you'll be deeply captivated by my knowledge. Before, I was only worried that you would disregard your male identity and fall in love with me, wanting to have a relationship beyond friendship. That's why I didn't reveal it. Do you understand? Brother, do you think I'm an ordinary person? No, I'm a genius. Yu Yong almost wrote the word genius on his forehead. You're a genius? Are you a natural idiot? The bright-eyed thief had never seen such an arrogant narcissist in her entire life. He even dared to call himself a genius. If all geniuses were like him, then the human race would soon be destroyed. If you swear that you won't be captivated by me, I'll show you a thing or two. I have no choice but to let you know how powerful I am. Let me tell you, forget about ordinary people. Even the immortal poet Li Bai often plagiarizes my poems. Do you know why that brat Li Bai is called the immortal poet? It's because he plagiarized my poems. There's also the immortal poet Du Fu. He also frequently plagiarizes my poems. Otherwise, why would they be called Li Du's poems shine brightly? You don't know, but it's all because of me that they are where they are today. Do you understand? Yu Yong solemnly affirmed. His expression was extremely serious, causing the bright-eyed thief to stare blankly. This brat could even compose poems? Immortal poet Li Bai? Who is he? The bright-eyed thief realized that she had never heard of this immortal poet Li Bai before. Little friend, you must study hard and improve every day. You don't even know who the immortal poet Li Bai is. That won't do. Yu Yong patted the bright-eyed thief's shoulder like an old man, putting on an expression that said, if you don't work hard when you're young, you'll only be sad when you're old. What's so great about this immortal poet Bai? Why do I need to know him? The bright-eyed thief snorted coldly. She was very disdainful, but in reality, she was a little guilty. Could it be that you haven't even heard of him plagiarizing my Quiet thoughts? That a classic work? Don't tell me you don't know it. Yu Yang's expression was as if he had just discovered an illiterate monster. Quiet Night Thoughts? I've never heard of it. What kind of poem is it? The bright-eyed thief tried her best to recall, but she really couldn't find any memories related to this poem. Chapter 23. The moonlight in front of my bed, I suspect it to be the frost on the ground. I raise my head to look at the moon, I lower my head to think of my hometown. Although he plagiarized this poem from me, the mood is still all right, especially when he raised his head to look at the moon. That kind of mood where the moon is round in the sky, but people aren't round. This kind of feeling, just like the sound of nature, resonates in the heart for a long time. This kind of feeling, this kind of scenery, can only be understood and cannot be expressed in words. This is the highest embodiment of silence being better than sound. However, if you listen to my original poem, you'll be even more amazed. Because my original poem is a work of uncanny craftsmanship, able to shock the heavens and make the gods weep. I dare say that when I recite it, you will jump up excitedly and hit my body with all your might. Yu Yang emphasized that his poem was the original, and that the content was able to shock the heavens and make the gods weep. Just like that, the bright-eyed thief's curiosity was piqued. Could it be that this brat really knew how to compose poems? All right, then tell me about your Quiet Night Thoughts. The bright-eyed thief felt that this brat probably didn't know how to compose poems, but decided to give him a chance. Stand still and listen carefully. Here comes my poem, a pair of shoes in front of my bed, my clothes to be the frost on the ground. I raise my head to look at the moon, I lower my head to think of my girl. Before Yu Yang could finish, he was already sent flying by a punch from the bright-eyed thief. The bright-eyed thief felt that all the good things had been wasted by this brat. Originally, after listening to Quiet Night Thoughts, she felt that the mood was extremely beautiful. It was easy to understand, but it resonated with the soul. It was even more touching than those magnificent poems. At first, she had planned to forgive him, but who would have thought that this brat was born to deserve a beating? Yu Yang was very thick-skinned and didn't mind at all. He jumped up, his eyes full of smiles. Actually, this is only the first draft. You must know that good poems are all edited. As the saying goes, looking for a chapter to pick out a sentence is an old carving worm. The dawn moon hangs a jade bough. Don't worry, I still have a revised Quiet Night Thoughts. The bright-eyed thief laughed coldly. Don't say anything about a pair of shoes in front of my bed. You can slowly savor it yourself. If it wasn't for the miraculous looking for a chapter to pick out a sentence is an old carving worm, the bright-eyed thief would have already stabbed him to death and left. Now, there seemed to be a turning point. Could it be that he was just teasing her on purpose? Is this kid really talented in poetry? Was it just that he was born to be cynical? Yu Yang immediately objected. If it's change, of course it won't be one pair of shoes in front of the bed, but two pairs of shoes in front of the bed. Take off your clothes and place them on the floor. Raise your head to look at the bright moon. Lower your head to kiss the girl. Wow, my God. If you have something to say, let's talk. A gentleman uses his mouth, not his fists. As soon as Yu Yang finished speaking, he ran away. The bright-eyed thief had already pulled out her dagger, vowing to stab this shameless bastard to death. After chasing him for 9 blocks, the bright-eyed thief still refused to let him go. In the end, Yu Yang had no choice but to use his ultimate move. He shouted, "Everyone look, there's a beauty running naked on the street." With his shout, countless mercenaries stuck their heads out to take a look. The bright-eyed thief couldn't take it anymore and chased after him. After giving Yu Yang a flying kick, she disappeared in a flash. Yu Yang patted his butt and muttered to himself, "The old Taoist priest kicked my butt, so he gave his granddaughter, the heavenly sword goddess, to me as my wife. Now that I've been kicked by you, I can't make an exception. Although I can't compare to the heavenly sword goddess, I can still reluctantly accept a concubine. All right, it's about time. I'll go and see if Tai Kwong has passed away from ejaculation. Originally, Yeong only wanted to spend some money to invite a few girls to make Tai Kwong sleep soundly after he was exhausted. There were many ways to kill someone. One of them was the body of a 28-year-old woman is soft, and the sword at her waist will behead the fool. Although you don't see the head falling, you can secretly make your bones dry up. This method was the most effective and most terrifying one. There is also an old saying, wine is a sword that pierces the intestines. Lust is a knife that scrapes the bones. Yu Yang reckoned that if Tai Kwong was not lying down after receiving a sword that pierces the intestines and a knife that scrapes the bones, he would be able to act as Superman Ultraman without any makeup. Thus, Yu Yang whistled and swaggered over as if he was taking a leisurely stroll. When he walked to the front of the big house that Tai Kwong lived in, he suddenly discovered that there was a big-breasted girl hiding in the darkness at the entrance, quietly waiting for him. Young master, not only did we make Tai Kwong drunk until he fell asleep, we've also tied him up. You can go in any time and kill him. The big-breasted girl knelt down and kowtowed heavily. Her words really gave Yu Yang a big fright. These prostitutes, how did they know that he wanted to kill Tai Kwong? Luckily, they didn't inform Tai Kwong. Otherwise, when he walked in, it would be a huge trap. According to this big-breasted girl's words, could it be that they had enmity with Tai Kwong? Yu Yang secretly praised his luck. Fortunately, he had hit the target by a fluke. The big-breasted girl kowtowed with tears in her eyes and said, "This little woman will keep watch outside. Please, young master, quickly go in and kill Tai Kwong. Otherwise, if Tai Kwong wakes up, the situation might change. Tai Kwong summoned beast is very powerful. Young master must be careful." "How do you know that I want to kill him?" Yu Yang was baffled. It seemed that these prostitutes weren't all big breasts and no brains. If Tai Kwong wants women, he wouldn't give them money. Our husbands were all killed by him. Many of our sisters were also pushed into this fire pit by him to become prostitutes to earn money for him. We're just his tools to earn money. Tell me, if he wants to find women, would he still give them money? Previously, when you said that a mercenary from the Violent Beast Mercenary Group called for prostitutes on behalf of Tai Kwong and asked us to serve him, we knew that it was definitely fake. Moreover, from a young master's eyes, you don't look like a servant. You don't have the arrogance of a servant, nor do you have the servility of a servant. Your eyes are clear and pure, and there's a kind of deep and unfathomable pride in them. You look more like a high and mighty young master. So, why would a person like you run errands for a person like Tai Kwong for a small amount of money? This is simply impossible. The only explanation is that you're an assassin who's prepared to kill Tai Kwong. You're an assassin who's here to seek revenge on Tai Kwong. You're a great hero who's not afraid of power, and you're here to help us, the weak and helpless victims' families. Young master, you don't have to be suspicious. In fact, the families of Tai Kwong's victims on the vengeance list are us sisters. All these years, we've never given up on pursuing revenge on Tai Kwong, because we're hoping that a great hero like you would appear. The big-breasted girl's face was full of tears as she kowtowed to Yu Yang to express her gratitude. Yu Yang was shocked by her subtle observation skills. It seemed that he had underestimated this person from the soaring dragon continent. With just such a small clue, this big-breasted girl could actually make such a bold deduction. Moreover, her deduction was so accurate. She was really not simple. Now he understood a little. Why didn't they inform Tai Kwong? It was because they were Tai Kwong's avengers. Tai Kwong was their enemy who killed their husbands. Their hatred was absolutely irreconcilable. However, he still had some doubts in his heart. Since you guys got him drunk and tied him up, why didn't you guys kill him yourself? Isn't this a simple matter? Chapter 24. The big-breasted girl raised her teary face and shook her head. We can kill him, but we don't have the strength to bear the revenge of the power behind him. We sisters are not alone like me. Most of them have children and even parents. Once Tai Kwong dies, his family will definitely take revenge. If they find out, we will all be paraded through the streets on wooden donkeys and then be hacked into pieces. We will die a painful death. Our parents and children will also be killed. We don't dare to take revenge ourselves, so we can only hope for a hero who is not afraid of power. Young master, if you don't have the strength to fight against the Tai clan and the White Stone City Master's revenge, then leave quickly. I will go back and untie the ropes. When Tai Kwong wakes up, we will continue to have fun with him. He won't suspect anything. How long have you been pursuing Tai Kwong in the Assassin Guild? Yu Yang asked the last question. 3 years, without a break. The big-breasted girl's gaze was firm. Although we don't have money, no matter how frugal we are, we will not give up on revenge. Yu Yang nodded slightly when he heard this. As a lowly prostitute who was trampled on by thousands of men, her dignity was trampled to the extreme, but she still did not forget to take revenge. All of the money they earned usually had to be handed over to the mastermind behind the scenes, so they could only secretly hide a small amount of money. However, they were still able to save 15 gold every half a year and persist in pursuing their enemies. This kind of vengeful will was truly admirable. As for whether the Tai clan would pursue him after killing Tai Kwong, Yu Yang didn't care at all. This was because he could use the knowledge transmitted by the Bronze Grimoire to find a loophole. Firstly, if his image was not recorded by Tai Kwong's vengeance scroll, then his name would not appear on the Assassin Guild's vengeance list. Even if he was accidentally recorded by the vengeance scroll, then the name that appeared on the vengeance list would only be Tai Tan, not his real name. If the Tai clan wanted to take revenge for Tai Kwong and pursue Yu Yang. However, this was impossible to achieve. This was because the loophole that Yu Yang had exploited was that he did not personally kill Tai Kwong. At most, he was an accomplice. At most, the thorny flower that had devoured Tai Kwong would appear on the list of vengeance hunters. As for the thorny flower, Yu Yang didn't even give it a name. Thus, a strange, anonymous person would appear on the vengeance list. Furthermore, if Yu Yang didn't summon the thorny flower from the Bronze Grimoire, its red that wouldn't appear on the Blood Rose map. It was precisely because of this loophole that Yu Yang felt that Tai Kwong, no matter how powerful a person was, could be used as fertilizer. Before he pushed the door open, he turned around and smiled at the big-breasted woman. In the future, if you have money, you don't have to hand it over to the Assassin Guild. It's useless even if you hand it over, because not every assassin likes to earn money. If you're willing, you can come and find me. I'm an assassin who will kill for money. I don't care who you kill, as long as you can afford it. The big-breasted woman behind him was so excited that her shoulders were trembling. There was no sound, but his face was a mess from crying. In less than 10 minutes, Yu Yang came out. In his hands, he was carrying a large leather bag. He threw it at the feet of the big-breasted woman. The copper coins inside are for you. I need you to do something for me. There are some gold and silver accessories in the bag. Find a suitable black market merchant and pawn them for gold coins. I have a use for them. If that black market merchant dares to have any ill intentions, then remember it. I'll kill him too. I won't tolerate anyone having any ill intentions towards me. Do you have other targets for revenge? Tell me now. If you help me pawn them, I won't do anything for free. However, I can consider letting you owe me first and slowly collect interest. The big-breasted woman trembled all over and kowtowed repeatedly. Her voice was a little stuttering. There are 2 more people. One is called Chang Dao, and the other is called Xiehua. We don't know their names, but we saw that Tai Kwong was very respectful when he spoke to them. Xiehua would come to White Stone City every once in a while. If we calculate the time, he might come in a few days. As for Chang Dao, we don't know him. We only know that this person's blade is very fast. Once, when he was sitting and drinking wine, he could kill more than 10 people with a wave of his hand without moving his body. Normally, this person rarely comes to White Stone City. He appears and disappears unpredictably. It's just that this Chang Dao has a very obvious characteristic. The right hand that holds the blade is much bigger than the left hand. I estimate that the right hand is at least twice as big as the left hand. After hearing this, Yu Yang smiled and turned around, leaving behind a light voice. Help me pawn them properly. The next time I see them, they will be dead people. The big-breasted woman kowtowed heavily, thanking Yu Yang. When she raised her teary eyes again, she discovered that the person in front of her had already disappeared with the wind. At daybreak, Yu Yang changed from a cold-blooded killer to the beautiful woman's beloved San-Air. If she knew that in the middle of the night, her beloved San-Air had climbed over the wall and used the thorny flower to swallow 2 people alive, it would be hard to imagine how she would feel. If the black-clothed Yu Bing was still in this small courtyard and was still practicing her summoning skills with Yu Yang, she would definitely notice that the thorny flower that Yu Yang summoned was different. The current spitting thorny flower was still level 1, but its grade had changed from normal to bronze. Its species had also changed to blood-tongue-spitting thorny flower. The current thorny flower was 2 meters tall. Its flower stem was as thick as a human's arm, and its entire body was covered with thorns. Its monstrous mouth had become even bigger, and the teeth inside had become even sharper. The most different part was that it had a long, blood-red tongue that hung out of its mouth, constantly moving in and out like a snake's tongue. The beautiful woman did not notice this strange phenomenon at all. She hugged the little girl and sat in the morning sunlight, happily reading the letter that her daughter had sent back. San-Air, in this letter, Bing-Air also asked about you. The beautiful woman felt that everything in the family had changed for the better. Her daughter, who had always been quiet, had become even closer to San-Air. Normally, she would never ask about San-Air in her letters. But now, she had mentioned him several times, and even had the intention of reporting her results to him. This proved that in this little girl's heart, she still hoped to have a strong brother. Did Bing-Air's exams go smoothly? Yu Yang kept the blood-tongue, spitting thorny flower. He discovered that after the thorny flower had leveled up to bronze rank, it had become more than 10 times stronger, but it did not level up. This proved that the secret that he had grasped was not wrong. The thorny flower's path of mutation was very correct. At the very least, the first step was a success. If it continued to mutate, he believed that the thorny flower would level up to silver-ranked, then gold-ranked. Then, from gold-ranked, it would undergo another mutation and become a humanoid bronze-ranked thorny flower demon. Then, it would continue to evolve from bronze-ranked, silver-ranked, gold-ranked, platinum-ranked, all the way to diamond-ranked. Finally, it would become a bronze-ranked intelligent humanoid thorny flower queen. The golden crown thorny flower queen's path of growth would require 3 evolutions. The process would be very long. However, it had already taken the right first step. As long as the thorny flower continued to eat living people as fertilizer, its growth would be faster than beast-type and bird-type monsters. It would continue to mutate and advance by leaps and bounds. In the future, it would definitely become the nightmare of all creatures on the battlefield, the Golden Crown Thorny Flower Queen. The Golden Crown Thorny Flower Queen from 3,000 years ago would no longer be a legend, but a reality. Bing-Air's exams went smoothly. Next year, she will be able to enter the advanced class of the 5th grade. She has also registered you for the 2nd grade. Because the academy has a rule that students cannot be registered for the 3rd grade and above. Sinner, you can only go to the 2nd grade for now. In a letter, Bing-Air said that after a few months of study, if your results are outstanding, you can jump to the 3rd grade. The little girl in the beautiful woman's embrace started to clamoring that she also wanted to go to school. Seeing that she couldn't stay in her embrace, the beautiful woman could only let go of her and let her run into Yu Yang's embrace to act like a spoiled child. After the beautiful woman read the letter, her expression became slightly worried. She sighed and said to Yu Yang, Bing-Air said that she won't be returning home for 3 months. She wants to go to Tong Tian Tower to participate in the trial. Tong Tian Tower? Trial? When Yu Yang heard this, he frowned. Chapter 25. According to the information that the Bronze Grimoire had transmitted to Yu Yang, Tong Tian Tower was a strange place. Tong Tian Tower had existed since ancient times. It was said that it was built by the ancient gods and was located in the center of the soaring dragon continent. It was the ladder that the gods left for humans to go to heaven. Tong Tian Tower was unknown how many meters tall it reached into the clouds. There was a barrier set up by the gods around it, making it impossible for anyone to climb it. One had to ascend level by level inside Tong Tian Tower. Every level of Tong Tian Tower had a teleportation door. Behind the teleportation door was an independent unit world that anyone could enter to train in. The condition was to pass through the lower level, obtain a special token, and then enter the upper level. Being Air is only going to the first level. It's just an entrance trial. Furthermore, there's a teacher in the academy leading the way, so there shouldn't be any danger. But I'm still a little worried about that stubborn girl. The beautiful woman knew her daughter's personality very well. Her daughter was lonely and silent. She didn't like group activities and wasn't good at socializing. She also didn't have any close friends in the academy. So no matter if it was her daily life or during the trial, she would easily be at a disadvantage. If she met with danger, no one would help her, and she could only fight alone. It'll be fine, don't worry. Seventh sister can take care of herself. When Yu Yang heard that Yu Bing was going to the first level and would be participating in the entrance trial, he quickly comforted the beautiful woman. The first and second level of Tong Tian Tower's trials were almost non-life-threatening. Only when one reached the third level would the true death trial begin. Of course, there was always the possibility of accidents happening. For example, the Feng clan youth who was engaged to Yu Bing was instantly killed by a wandering Golden King beast in the second level. However, the probability of this kind of accident happening was very small, so small that it was almost negligible. In the past few hundred years, other than that accident, there hadn't been a second case. This was because even in the third level of Tong Tian Tower, the Golden King beast only occupied a mountain and would not wander around because she was worried about her daughter. The beautiful woman was a little absent-minded today. She, who was skilled in needlework, had already been pricked by needles several times. Seeing the beautiful woman's bleeding finger, Yu Yang saw it, and a thought flashed through his mind. Perhaps his black jade necklace needed to be bound by blood. The black jade necklace looked ordinary in the daytime. No one could tell that it was a treasure. Yu Yang had never been able to figure out what this thing was really used for. Why could he sense its ocean-like energy in his dreams, but not in the daytime? Does it really need to be bound by blood? Yu Yang was touched. After the beautiful woman and the little girl left, he immediately took off the black jade necklace from his neck. He pricked it with a needle and dripped a drop of blood on it. For a long time, there was no reaction at all. All right, I admit it. I've read too many online novels. Yu Yang originally thought that this thing was just like what was written in online games. It needed to be dripped with blood to recognize the owner, and then it would be automatically bound to the owner. It would never be damaged or dropped. It could also level up with the owner. It was a super awesome artifact. Who knew that the black jade necklace wouldn't respond even after a long time, causing Yu Yang to suffer a huge blow to his heart. Forget it, I'll figure it out one day. Yu Yang stretched out his hand, preparing to put the black jade necklace back on his neck. Suddenly, he discovered that there was a black dot on the black jade necklace that was expanding rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it had actually turned into a terrifying black hole. With an endless suction force, Yu Yang couldn't resist and was sucked into it. As a guy from another world, Yu Yang almost thought that he was done for. He discovered that his whole body was about to be torn apart by the black hole. In the instant that he was sucked into the black hole, it was as if his skin, flesh, bones, and even his soul had turned into fine powder. When Yu Yang thought that he was going to die, a strange life force suddenly appeared in the depths of his soul, causing Yu Yang to feel a strange feeling, as if he was a phoenix rising from the ashes, coming back to life, reassembling his whole body, and returning to his original state. He quickly discovered that not only did he not die, he was still in the middle of an extremely quiet black hole that had no light at all. What was going on? How could he get out? When Yu Yang thought about it, he felt that his head was really bigger than 3. Looks like this method of dripping blood to recognize the owner couldn't be tested easily. He had gone too far. You actually didn't die? What a strange human boy. Wow, he's actually an innate. Such a young innate. Just when Yu Yang was at a loss of what to do, a beautiful yet astonished female voice rang out. Before Yu Yang could react, he discovered that he was lifted up by an irresistible force. Following that, a soft and fragrant jade lips kissed his mouth. A beauty's kiss? Yu Yang's first thought was that he had profited. However, he was shocked to discover that the beauty who was passionately kissing him was a terrifying vampire. She was frantically sucking the energy in his body. The energy that he had cultivated for a whole month in the second realm was sucked clean by her in just a few seconds. If it wasn't for her letting go of his cherry lips, Yu Yang had no doubt that he would have been sucked dry by her. In these 10,000 years, this is the first time I've felt so comfortable. It feels so good. Although the energy is a little less, it's very pure. Not bad. The beauty who was kissing him sighed happily in the darkness. Damn! Yu Yang discovered that his whole body was weak from being sucked dry. Even standing there felt like his legs were going soft. It was as if he had watched too many video games. After a moment of dizziness, Yu Yang surprisingly discovered that he could actually see things in the dark. Although there was no light, he could clearly see that his body was completely naked. There was not a single thread of clothing on his body, making him look like a naked man. Standing in front of him was a beauty who was more than 2 meters tall. Her beauty was so beautiful that it could cause the downfall of cities and countries. Her skin was smooth and creamy, and her sapphire-like eyes were staring at him unblinkingly. Her eyes were filled with surprise and curiosity. This beauty's long golden hair was like a waterfall, slightly covering the towering snow-white peaks in front of her chest. Yu Yang resisted the urge to reach out and grab them. When he looked down again, he could only see a delicate navel and a slender waist. This was simply the most mystical work of nature. Even the work of the gods couldn't carve such a perfect and flawless natural body. Even if he would fall to the 18th level of hell and suffer if he died, Yu Yang still wanted to look down now. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A naked beauty was standing in front of him. If he didn't look, then Yu Yang might as well change his name to Lu Xiaohui. However, when Yu Yang used his wolfish eyes to look down, he cried out in surprise, "Oh my God! Why is your leg a snake tail?" The blonde beauty laughed when she heard this. Her laughter was as bright as the Milky Way. Her laughter was so beautiful that it could cause the downfall of cities and countries and collapse the heavens and earth. Her laughter made Yu Yang's soul float away and forget about the world. She stretched out her 6 arms from behind her blonde hair, swinging them beautifully. One of her lily-white hands gently lifted Yu Yang's chin. Her sapphire-like eyes were full of smiles. "Cute little human boy, there's nothing strange about this. I'm a serpent empress, so of course I look different from you humans. Don't you think that my snake tail is also very beautiful?" Chapter 26. Below the golden-haired beauty was a snake tail that was a few meters long. It looked beautiful and had an indescribable elegance to it, but it was still a snake's tail after all. If it was a pair of legs like a human's, Yu Yang would have liked it even more. Just like the 6 slender arms on her shoulders that looked like willows swaying in the wind, it was really a bit too much. If it was just a pair of jade arms, how perfect would it be? Yu Yang stared at the golden-haired beauty's long snake tail and 6 arms. After a long while, he finally reacted. He grabbed one of the golden-haired beauty's white jade arms and smiled. "You must be Bai Suzhen, the white snake? I've heard a lot about you. I'm Su Xian." "What nonsense! My name is Fei Wenli. Please call me the world's most beautiful serpent empress." The golden-haired beauty smiled confidently. "Hello, your majesty." Yu Yang pretended to be a gentleman and courteous. "When you greet me, add the adjective the world's most beautiful in front of it. It will make me even happier. Now let's talk, cute little human boy. Can you tell me, why did you barge into this black hole seal? Also, why are you already an innate at such a young age?" The golden-haired serpent empress Fei Wenli blinked her beautiful big eyes and looked into Yu Yang's eyes as she asked curiously, "There's no other way. I'm a genius." Yu Yang shrugged his shoulders. Although his whole body was naked, he didn't care at all. Anyway, the other party was also naked. Both sides treated each other honestly, so the feeling was not bad. Of course, if he could push her down, that would be even better. The problem was, Yu Yang also knew his own limits. He felt that he couldn't even beat this empress with one hand. so he temporarily suppressed his wolfish heart. Queen Vivian Lee frowned and actually nodded in agreement. You are indeed a genius. Moreover, you are an abnormal genius. I've never seen a human like you. Never. I've been asleep for 10,000 years, unable to break free from this eternal dreamland. But your blood was able to successfully awaken me. This is a black hole sealed space. No matter what life comes in, they will be turned to ashes. I've done everything I can to keep my soul intact, but my body has been swallowed up by the black hole and turned into nothingness. But you, a little human boy, are able to stand in front of me unscathed. I don't understand why. Perhaps you were born with the ability to automatically resurrect and resist the devouring power of the black hole. Lastly, I have never seen such a young innate rancor. In the endless demon abyss, if I say that I am the second most talented, no one would dare to say that they are the first. However, it took me nearly 50 years to start cultivating the innate realm. It took me 100 years to truly enter the innate realm. To reach your current realm, it took me 200 years. As for you, you are still an unbelievably young human boy. Yu Yang opened his mouth wide, not because of her praise, but because of something else. For example, sleeping for 10,000 years? Just now, she seemed to have said 10,000 years, but at that time he was a little dizzy and didn't hear it clearly. Now, Yu Yang heard it very clearly, very vividly. How old was Her Majesty the Empress? Just now, you said that your body was swallowed by the black hole and turned into nothingness? Yu Yang keenly captured the key point of the question. This Queen Vivian Lee was clearly standing naked in front of him. Her whole body was like white jade. How could she say that she didn't have a body? What you saw was an illusory life form between reality and illusion. Even after sleeping for 10,000 years, my body has not recovered by half. When Queen Vivian Lee heard this question, her little face showed a sad expression. Yu Yang boldly stretched out his hand and found that his fingers smoothly passed through Queen Vivian Lee's body, just like passing through a water ball. Sure enough, her body was not a physical body, but it was also not a shadow. Queen Vivian Lee moved her jade-like hand and pulled Yu Yang up. Her beautiful big eyes stared at him. Idiot, don't touch a woman's body casually. Not to mention that I'm a queen. Even an ordinary girl can't do it. The guy from another world smiled and reached out to touch her jade-like arm. He found that her hand was more physical than her body, and it felt like touching cotton. Before he could reach out to touch her face, Queen Vivian Lee slightly leaned back and smiled. Don't be rude. My neck and above are the same as yours, flesh and blood. You have guts. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you and seize your body to escape the black hole seal? When Yu Yang heard this, he laughed. His smile was incomparably bright. If I was afraid, you wouldn't kill me? Yu Yang didn't think that being afraid would be of any use. Furthermore, if she wanted to kill him, she wouldn't have needed to say any nonsense. She could have done it when he came in. Why would she ask him if he was afraid? Most importantly, after Yu Yang calmed himself down, he found that there was a strange feeling in his heart. It was as if the snake demon empress in front of him was completely harmless. She would definitely not harm him. That feeling was extremely strange. Yu Yang couldn't explain it clearly, but he knew that she was closer to him than his own family. It was as if she was the same person as him. Queen Vivian Lee gently put Yu Yang down. She stretched out her small fist and lightly knocked on his head. I also want to kill you, but I can't because we have signed a soul blood contract. Strange human boy, what is your bloodline? Why is your blood able to wake me up from the eternal dream? Why is your blood able to invade my soul and forcefully sign a soul blood contract? I really can't understand. Within the three realms, how can there be such a strange existence like you? Little fellow, are you really a human? What is a soul blood contract? Yu Yang didn't have any memories of this. This was a new knowledge that the bronze grimoire didn't impart to him. A contract that only gods can sign. But you are obviously a human. Can you explain? Queen Vivian Lee looked like a curious baby. I don't know either. Yu Yang shook his head. Ever since he had been transported to this world, there were too many unbelievable things that had happened to him. He couldn't understand a single one of them. However, Yu Yang didn't care about this at all. As long as it wasn't a bad thing, it was fine. Queen Vivian Lee's expression was a little depressed. Why would I sign a soul blood contract with a human boy? If you were to die, I would also die. This is too pitiful. My heart is as broad as the sky. I don't mind having a beautiful empress to protect me. Yu Yang said this to test the Serpent Queen. Would she be able to escape from the black hole seal? Right now, his strength wasn't enough. Even if she wouldn't hurt him, he still felt uncomfortable being pressed down by such a strong empress. Other than being pressed down by her on the bed, Yu Yang's male chauvinist mentality wouldn't allow a woman who was stronger than him to stand by his side all day. This was because if he did, he wouldn't be able to show his face as a man. Maybe I will never be able to leave. Without a living body, I won't be able to leave the black hole seal. Even if you are killed by a strong enemy, I can only helplessly accompany you in death. Queen Vivian Lee's face was full of sorrow. When Yu Yang heard this, his heart was filled with joy. Luckily, she couldn't leave. It's all right. I will protect myself and you at the same time. All right. Do you have any divine equipment or super divine equipment on you? Can you lend me a few to use? Yu Yang opened his mouth wide and asked. Chapter 27. Greedy little fellow, don't you know that the divine equipment chooses its master? Once it recognizes its master, it will only be used by its master? Queen Vivian Lee laughed. Then give me 100 mythical beasts. Yu Yang's requirements weren't too high. Aren't you afraid that the mythical beasts won't be able to be controlled and will swallow you whole? Little fellow, borrowing external forces is a heretical method. It's the stupidest and most foolish method. If you were to cultivate that kind of mystical skill that even I can't see through and raise it to the pinnacle realm, the mythical beast in front of you would just be a puppy or even an insignificant ant. Why do you have to reject what's near at hand and seek what's far away? Queen Vivian Lee shook her head lightly and said softly, right now, you're like a little eagle that has just grown feathers but has yet to learn how to fly. You're like a tiger cub that has grown out its teeth but has yet to learn how to hunt. In front of you, there's a boundless sky for you to soar in. There's a vast and boundless land for you to run on. You only need to bravely display yourself. Also, with your proud, manly heart, do you really need my help? Little fellow, in front of you, I'm not the Serpent Empress. I'm just a weak girl that doesn't even have a body. You're a weak girl? When Yu Yang heard this, he had the urge to bang his head against the wall. To other people, I'm very strong. However, in front of you, I'm an out-and-out weak girl. Just now, you used your hands to forcefully molest me, and I couldn't even stop you. Queen Vivian Lee's peerless face revealed a pitiful expression like a bullied young wife. Molest. Yu Yang was dumbfounded. That was considered molestation? He was only curious and reached out his hand to touch her. All right, touching her was considered molestation. Who asked her to be the empress? Queen Vivian Lee sighed softly. I'd rather not be the Serpent Queen. I'd rather be an ordinary human woman with flesh and blood, running freely under the sun. Even if I lose everything, it's better than sleeping in this black hole. Little fellow, perhaps after you go out, you won't be able to come back in for a year. The black hole seal should become even stronger. If your ability doesn't advance by leaps and bounds, perhaps it will take a year, 10 years, or even 100 years before you can see me again. And during this period of time, I'll have to wander alone in this lonely dream. Yu Yang sympathized with the Empress. It was indeed terrible to lose one's freedom, especially since he had been trapped in the black hole for tens of thousands of years. Even now, he was still unable to regain his freedom. If it were him, he would probably have gone mad. Do you need help? Is there anything I can do? Seeing the sadness in Queen Vivian Lee's eyes, Yu Yang suddenly had a manly desire to protect her. He felt that although this beautiful empress had a great reputation, she was actually living the life of a prisoner. Not to mention anything else, just sleeping for tens of thousands of years was miserable enough. Become stronger. Become stronger than me. Become stronger than the person who created this black hole to seal me. Only then can I leave this cage. When Queen Vivian Lee said this, Yu Yang almost fainted. This was easy to say, but difficult to do. Yu Yang felt that it was better for him to go out first. He shouldn't stay for too long, or he would be trapped in this black hole. A thought flashed through his mind, and he hurriedly asked Queen Vivian Li, "How do I get out?" Seeing that Yu Yang wanted to leave, Queen Vivian Li's face showed a hint of reluctance. However, she quickly recovered and nodded with a smile. "I can send you out immediately, but this way, I will need to consume a lot of spiritual energy. Perhaps my recovering body will be greatly affected, and I will fall into hibernation again. Are you going to leave now?" When she said the last sentence, there was an indescribable sadness in it. It was like a weak woman watching the man who protected her heartlessly leave her. Hearing the Empress's bitter tone, Yu Yang's heart softened for a second. Speaking of which, she was quite pitiful. Moreover, she treated him quite well. Not only did she welcome him with a kiss, she also tolerated his molestation. In the end, she was even generous enough to send him away. However, it was impossible for him to stay and accompany her. Yu Yang was not that great. "Do you have any wishes to fulfill outside? I might be able to think of a way." Yu Yang felt that if this empress had countless beautiful subjects that he needed to take care of, it would not be a problem. "I have been hibernating for 10,000 years. I'm afraid that my country has already disappeared. Moreover, you are a human living in the soaring dragon continent, and I am the serpent empress of the demon abyss. Even if I have any wishes, you will not be able to fulfill them. Moreover, my only wish is to be free." Queen Vivian Li smiled. Her smile was so beautiful that it could cause the downfall of cities and countries. Yu Yang was intoxicated by her smile. Before she was ready to send Yu Yang out, Fei Wenli suddenly remembered something. "Oh, right. Your blood is like God's blood, even more mysterious and peculiar. Maybe you can resurrect her." Queen Vivian Li pointed her lily-white hand. She did not need to summon her grimoire, but directly summoned a colorful pet egg. This move made Yu Yang's eyes light up. If he could learn to summon beasts without summoning his grimoire, wouldn't he be able to hide himself even more? His enemies would definitely think that he was not a grimoire contractor and underestimate him. This move was simply a necessary skill for killing people at home and traveling. Looking at the colorful pet egg again, Yu Yang's heartbeat increased by 100 times. Could this be the legendary dragon egg? She was my personal guard captain. She died in battle to protect me. I had no way to resurrect her, so I could only turn her back to her original state. If your blood can resurrect her, then she might be able to help you a little. However, I'm not sure if she still has her previous battle memories. Fei Wenli bit her index finger and drew a strange rune on it. She then motioned for Yu Yang to reach out his hand. She first made a cut on Yu Yang's palm, then gently placed the egg that was sparkling with colorful light down. That egg was like a little vampire, crazily sucking Yu Yang's blood. It almost sucked Yu Yang dry. While Yu Yang was dizzy, a strong light rose up, flashing the image of Snake Demon Warrior more than 10 meters tall. In less than a second, it disappeared without a trace. All the light was quickly absorbed by the black hole. The egg that had absorbed enough blood melted and disappeared, turning into a blood pattern. It moved on Yu Yang's arm until it reached his chest. On Yu Yang's skin, a small and exquisite snake demon pattern appeared. Its 6 arms were raised high, each holding a different weapon. Its long snake tail twisted and coiled around Yu Yang's waist and lower abdomen. Yu Yang did not have time to see it clearly. In an instant, the pattern moved as if it had a life of its own. A colorful light shot out from his body, streaking across the space between the two of them like lightning, straight into Queen Vivian Li's body. "Oh my God!" Queen Vivian Li let out a cry of surprise. She raised her 6 arms, as if she wanted to stop the rainbow light from entering her body. However, there was only a slight hesitation on her face. In the end, she let go of the barrier and let the rainbow light shoot in her body. Yu Yang smelled it all at once. Her body began to emit waves of refreshing fragrance. Amidst the brilliance and fragrance, the wonderful snake demon pattern on Empress Fei when Li's lower abdomen actually gave birth to an incomparably petite little lowly. This little fellow looked exactly like Queen Vivian Li, but it was just a smaller version of the little lowly. It also had 6 arms and a snake tail. It looked a little young and inexperienced. Its body was the size of Yu Shuang, and its height only reached Yu Yang's waist. The little lowly snake demon seemed to be unable to even stand steadily. She stretched out her 6 arms and hugged Fei when Li's snake waist. That small head of her that was like a waterfall turned around and looked at Yu Yang with her big sapphire-like eyes without blinking. It felt like a little girl seeing her father who had returned from a long journey. She wanted to recognize him, but didn't dare to. She wanted to hug him, but didn't dare to reach out her hands. She looked a little timid and cute. This is... Yu Yang was dumbstruck. What was going on? Chapter 28. Heavens, this little fellow, after being revived by your blood, she still wants to come back to suck my life energy. It's over, my body is finished. This time, I might not be able to recover, even if I sleep for 1,000 years. Queen Vivian Li's whole body was trembling. Her face was as pale as a pregnant woman. She was exhausted and beads of sweat seeped out of her forehead. She seemed to be too weak to even stand up. Yu Yang noticed that her snake tail started to become blurry and gradually turned into mist. However, those 6 jade arms did not let go of the little lowly serpent demon. Instead, they hugged her tightly, as if she was hugging her own precious baby. Yu Yang saw that the whole snake tail had turned into white mist and was being absorbed by the black hole very slowly. He couldn't help but ask in shock, "Are you all right? Your body seems to be disappearing." This little fellow sucked away a lot of my spiritual energy and life energy. I can't even maintain my body right now. Hurry up and get ready, or else I won't even have the strength to send you out. Heavens, I need to sleep immediately. Otherwise, my body that had recovered with so much difficulty will be completely destroyed. Hold her properly. I can't take it anymore. Queen Vivian Li summoned a huge grimoire. Its whole body was sparkling like a crystal. It shone with colorful light, dazzling Yu Yang's eyes. Under Yu Yang's gaze, the grimoire that was more than 3 meters long and 2 meters wide magically turned into a transparent crystal coffin. Queen Vivian Li's expression was extremely tired. It seemed that any small movement would exhaust her strength to the limit. She hugged the little lowly serpent demon and kissed her lightly. She then passed it to Yu Yang, hinting him to take it. The little lowly serpent demon was a little hesitant and reluctant. However, when she saw Yu Yang reach out his hand, her 6 small arms also moved over and hugged him tightly. Queen Vivian Li's body swayed slightly, as if her physical strength had reached its limit. She couldn't help but gasp for breath, her beautiful chest moving up and down. Hurry up and leave. My life energy has already reached its limit. I need to sleep immediately. If after a year, your strength has increased by leaps and bounds, try to see if you can break through the black hole seal. I need your spiritual energy to support me. As she spoke, Queen Vivian Li's 6 jade arms flashed with an extremely intense brilliance, blazing like the sun. Behind her, a huge figure that was more than 10 meters tall appeared. Its 6 arms moved at the same time, forming a strange seal. Then, it shattered with a loud bang, as if a galaxy had exploded. Yu Yang felt a huge impact on his body. An irresistible force pushed his body, causing Yu Yang to have the illusion that he had traveled through time and space. It was as if he had crossed mountains and rivers, flew millions of kilometers, and even traveled through the universe. Take her out. If she still has any battle memories, you can ask her if you encounter something you don't understand. The last wisp of Queen Vivian Li's consciousness was still echoing in Yu Yang's mind. However, when Yu Yang opened his eyes, he found that he had returned to the real world. Everything that had happened just now was like a dream. The little lowly serpent demon that he had been hugging tightly in his arms had unknowingly disappeared. If it wasn't for the little lowly serpent demon's pattern on his naked body, Yu Yang wouldn't dare to believe that everything that had just happened was real. A familiar fragrance emerged, but it was much fainter than the one emitted by Queen Vivian Li's body. A ray of rainbow light flashed. In the midst of the brilliance and fragrance, the little lowly serpent demon slowly floated out from Yu Yang's body, turning into a real body made of flesh and blood. Her 6 arms spread out like an octopus, tightly hugging Yu Yang's body. Her big sapphire eyes stared unblinkingly at Yu Yang, as if she had seen her father and wanted to call him daddy, but didn't dare to do so. "Be good. Come down. Let me wear my clothes first." Yu Yang sweated profusely. This was great. He didn't even have a wife, yet he had a daughter for no reason. The little lowly serpent demon was very obedient and let go of him. Her big eyes rolled around the room, as if she was very curious about everything. Yu Yang, who hurriedly found his clothes and put them on, kept thinking in his heart, was this little lowly his daughter, or was she a beast? He summoned his bronze grimoire and flipped to the originally blank 5th page. He discovered that his guess was not wrong. This little lowly serpent demon was indeed his summoned beast. Moreover, it was a guardian beast, just like his own phantom shadow. However, she was different from the phantom shadow in that the little lowly did not have a time limit for summoning. In theory, she could exist forever. When Yu Yang looked at the contents of the 5th page, he was shocked. The originally blank 5th page now had a picture of the little lowly serpent demon. It looked extremely lifelike. Different from the phantom shadow, thorny flower, and golden seeking mouse pictures, the little lowly's picture not only shone brightly, but also moved as if it had a mind of its own. When Yu Yang looked at the picture, the little lowly at the side of the picture would turn her body, face and eyes, and raise her head to look at Yu Yang, as if she could feel his gaze. When Yu Yang looked down, he discovered that the little lowly in reality was the same. She raised her head and stared at him with her big eyes without blinking, doing the same staring action as the picture. If Yu Yang looked away, the picture would return to normal and become a fixed profile picture. Looking at the description below, Yu Yang was dumbfounded, dumbstruck. Mysterious serpent demon. Infant, intelligence, humanoid beast, diamond level 1. Guardian beast, unlimited vitality, life-sharing, possesses a grimoire. Diamond level, unlimited vitality, life-sharing, possesses a grimoire? Yu Yang's blood vessels almost exploded. What kind of existence was this little lowly? You also have a grimoire? Yu Yang was very dizzy. Could it be that this little thing still had something from her previous life? Did she still have a summoning grimoire from her previous life? Then what was her inherent skill in guardian beast? If she also had a summoning grimoire, was she his beast or his daughter? The little lowly serpent demon did not open her mouth to speak, but she blinked her big eyes. With a tap of her little hand, she summoned a small and exquisite grimoire. It was similar to Queen Vivian Lee's grimoire. It was also sparkling like a crystal, but the mysterious picture was slightly different. At the same time, it did not have the dazzling rainbow halo like Queen Vivian Lee's grimoire. Yu Yang bent down to take a closer look, and his jaw almost dropped to the ground. He saw the words Diamond Grimoire written on the grimoire. This little lowly's grimoire was actually diamond level. It was a pity that his grimoire was only a beginner-level bronze grimoire. When he opened the grimoire and looked at the little lowly's inherent skill and guardian beast, Yu Yang was completely speechless. Binding inherent skill. This inherent skill can be released at the same time as an attack. An invisible binding chain can bind the target's body, spirit, life, and soul. Before the binding is released, the target will not be able to move. The duration of the binding is affected by the host's ability and inherent skill level. Currently, this inherent skill is level 1. Oh my god! Yu Yang sweated profusely. Isn't this the legendary saying that you can't hit back when you hit someone? Looking at the little lowly's guardian beast again, Yu Yang really wanted to vomit blood. She was not like other people who only had one guardian beast, but had 4. On the second page of the picture, there were 4 portraits of different creatures. Looking at the words below, he knew that they were the stone element Medusa, the storm mermaid, the thunder naga, and the ice serpent demon. No wonder Queen Vivian Lee had chosen her to be the guard leader. If this little lowly grew up, she would be incredible. However, was she really Queen Vivian Lee's guard leader? Yu Yang was very suspicious. Could this really be his daughter? Or could it be her doppelganger? Of course, the real answer couldn't be revealed now. To Yu Yang, he felt that this little lowly was more like his own daughter. Right now, the little lowly was still a baby. Even Yu Yang, who had the innate invisible sword chi, didn't have much confidence in defeating her. If she was allowed to grow up in the future, how powerful would she be? Fortunately, this little thing was not only his daughter, but also his guardian beast. Otherwise, Yu Yang would be extremely jealous. After thinking for a long time, Yu Yang finally came back to his senses and patted his chest. That was close. He was almost scared to death by this little thing. Sanner, are you still meditating? It's time to eat. Aunt Sue has already called you a few times. The beautiful woman's voice sounded from outside. Okay, I'll go out immediately. Yu Yang hurriedly replied in a loud voice. He prepared to keep the little lowly serpent demon back, but before he could even stretch out his hand, his mind received a kind of resistance and fear. The little lowly's 6 small arms tightly hugged Yu Yang's thigh, looking at him pitifully with her big eyes, as if she was very unwilling to be kept into the bronze grimoire. Ah, this little thing could actually resist his will? Yu Yang was about to coax her when suddenly the wooden door opened. Yu Shuang, that little girl, happily called Brother Xiao San, pushed the door open and entered. Chapter 29. So fragrant. Yu Shuang sniffed around. She thought that Yu Yang had hidden something delicious in the room. Phew, that was close. Yu Yang secretly wiped his sweat. When the little girl pushed the door open and entered, the little lowly suddenly turned into a rainbow light and flew into his body. Yu Shuang didn't notice the rainbow light, but was attracted by the remaining fragrance. She jumped in and pulled Yu Yang's hand, acting like a spoiled child, insisting that he take out the delicious food. Yu Yang was about to raise his hand to carry the little girl when a wonderful message suddenly flashed in his mind. It seemed that the wonderful message was silently asking him if he should use the binding chains. Yu Yang was startled. Could it be that after the little lowly serpent demon entered his body, he could also use her inherent skill? The beautiful woman entered the door and carried the spoiled little girl who was pestering Yu Yang. She scolded her, "Little girl, how can I not give you delicious food? This should be the fragrance of the thorny flower, right? Thinking of delicious food all day, what a greedy cat. Shuang Mimi, if you eat obediently, I'll bring you to buy very sweet brown sugar glutinous rice cakes later." Yu Yang was good at coaxing little kids. When he said this, the little girl's attention was immediately diverted. She happily nodded her head and raised her lotus-like tender white hands, cheering, "Long live Brother Xiao San." She was determined to throw herself into his embrace and kiss him. Seeing this little girl being so greedy, the beautiful woman didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Originally, Yu Yang thought that the little lowly serpent demon could hide from the beautiful woman and Yu Shuang. He didn't expect that they would find out on the second day. It wasn't that Yu Yang was careless, but he had forgotten that the little lowly could move freely. At night, Yu Yang went out to get rid of the 2 vengeful hunters' mercenaries and continued to nurture the thorny flower. He woke up a little later in the day. When he opened his eyes, he discovered that Yu Shuang, the little girl, and the little lowly lamia were sitting at the table eating. Their mouths were dirty from eating, and the beautiful woman was sitting opposite them, using a wet handkerchief to gently wipe their mouths. From time to time, she would remind them to eat slowly and not choke. Yu Yang was dumbfounded. Were they not afraid of the little lowly with 6 arms and a snake tail? Seeing that Yu Yang had woken up, the beautiful woman gave him a bowl of steaming hot porridge and asked, "Is this child your guardian beast, Mist? Sanner, you finally summoned your guardian beast? Looks like your cultivation is not bad. You've improved a lot. Fourth Mother is really happy for you." This was a huge misunderstanding. The little lowly lamia had nothing to do with the fog. She didn't know how to cast the fog either. However, this misunderstanding was a little timely. Fortunately, the beautiful woman had misunderstood and hit the mark by a fluke, dispelling her suspicions. Otherwise, Yu Yang really didn't know how to explain it. "Brother Xiao San, why does she have 6 arms? And a long little tail. Why don't we call her Little Monster? The little girl was extremely curious, but her naming skills were really not that good. Young quickly rejected it. He thought that since she was Queen Vivian Lee's and his own daughter, and looked exactly like her, just like a smaller version, he might as well call her Little One Lee. The black hole in the black jade necklace had already been resealed. After dripping blood, there was no more reaction. Yu Yang didn't know what realm he would need to cultivate in order to be able to enter and visit the sleeping Queen Vivian Lee again. Therefore, he decided to give the little lowly a similar name, which could also be considered as remembering her. Seeing the little girl making a fuss, Yu Yang hurriedly waved his hands to correct her. Shuang Mimi, she's not called Little Monster. She's called One Li, Little One Li. When he thought of a name, a message flashed through Yu Yang's mind. On his bronze grimoire, the originally unnamed serpent demon pattern was now officially engraved with a name. This was also the first time Yu Yang had officially named his summoned beast. The little lowly tilted her head and looked at Yu Yang. Her big eyes blinked, not knowing if she was satisfied with her name or not satisfied enough. Yu Yang couldn't guess her thoughts, but he knew that this little thing would actually get jealous. When the little girl threw herself into his embrace and acted like a spoiled child, she would also quickly swim over and hug his thigh tightly, looking at him pitifully with her sapphire-like big eyes. Her expression was like an unfavored daughter looking forward to her father's embrace. That gaze was really unbearable. The appearance of the serpent demon, lowly Little One Li, made the little girl the happiest, because she, who liked to play around all day, now had a companion. She was just like a big sister, running around the courtyard with Little One Li all day, chasing butterflies, catching dragonflies, climbing trees and picking flowers, drenching ants and playing with mud, and rummaging through chests and cupboards to find delicious food. There was nothing she didn't like to do. Of course, her proudest action was still teaching Little One Li how to speak. You're already so big, but you still don't know how to speak? Stupid. I'll teach you. Yu Shuang, this little girl, proudly took out the airs of a teacher and taught Little One Li how to speak all day. But her scheming was in vain, as Little One Li still didn't say a word. Yu Yang didn't think that a baby who had just been born for less than 3 days could speak. Although Little One Li looked about the same age as Yu Shuang, strictly speaking, she was still a baby. At night, Yu Yang went to the tavern on the east side of the city to take a stroll. In the darkness, the big-breasted girl from before was waiting in the corner. She quickly handed him a small bag of gold coins and reported in a low voice, "Young master, there is still 2 valuable jewelry that haven't been sold. The small one was exchanged for 35 gold coins. Please count it." "That's right. Xiehua came yesterday. He set up a vengeance trail in the Assassin Guild. I don't know if he's looking for you. Young master, you should leave Whitestone City first. There are also people from the Tai clan who came to take revenge for Tai Quan. They're sitting in the tavern, drinking and gathering information." Not to mention that he now had a diamond-ranked guardian beast like Little One Li. Even if it was before, Yu Yang wouldn't have cared. Who could the Assassin Guild track for revenge? An anonymous thorny flower? With the innate invisible sword Shi, the mysterious 3 styles, the support of Phantom Shadow, and Little One Li's binding inherent skill. Even if there were more people, they would only be fertilizer for the thorny flower. Where's that Xiehua? Yu Yang really wished to have a strong opponent to fight against, so that he could judge the extent of his own battle strength. I heard that he's in the Merry Forest on the west side of the city. Young master, please be careful. The big-breasted girl warned softly. I'm fine. Yu Yang waved his hand. Whitestone City's Merry Forest was not just a forest, but a huge building. Merry Forest branches could be found all over the Xia Kingdom. It was the country's leading entertainment center. It was said that the main building of Shanglin Court in the capital, Shangjing, was jointly built by the state preceptor, the left minister, and Xia's richest man, Shen Shi. Its grandeur was second only to the Imperial Garden. Not to mention Shangjing Shanglin Court, even Whitestone City's Merry Forest was not a place that ordinary people could enter. Those who were able to enter were either experts with outstanding martial prowess or wealthy merchants. A level 3 hero that everyone envied. Even in a small place like Whitestone City, there would always be a hero standing at the entrance of the Merry Forest. He was the guard captain of the Merry Forest. If the guards of the City Lord's mansion were to be compared to the guards of the Merry Forest, the Lord of Whitestone City wouldn't dare to say that his private army would definitely be stronger than the guards of the Merry Forest. This was only the strength of a branch of Whitestone City. 15 years ago, in order to reward the Merry Forest Guard for their outstanding achievements in defending the country's territory, the Xia Kingdom's Emperor Jun Wuyu had bestowed a golden waistplate with the words "Second" engraved on it. The other golden waistplate with the words "First" hung on the waist of the great commander of the royal army, 10,000 withered bones Feng Quang. In other words, the Merry Forest Guard strength was equivalent to the Second Royal Army. If the Merry Forest Guard strength was not so strong, the big-breasted woman would not be so worried for Yu Yang. When Yu Yang stood in front of the magnificent Merry Forest, a smile appeared on his face. Merry Forest? What a good place. Hey, brother, you're here too? It really is a small world. Come, Big Brother invites you in for a drink. The bright-eyed thief was staring at a certain figure on the balcony with hatred. Suddenly, she felt her shoulder being patted by someone, giving her a scare. But when she turned her head, she saw that the person was Yu Yang, the shameless man. Instantly, the fist came flying over. Chapter 30. Yu Yang caught the fist with one hand and laughed. Brother, I know you miss me, but your way of expressing yourself is too special. If you could change it to a passionate hug, I would be even happier. The girls inside have already been stripped naked and waiting for us to pamper them. What are we still standing here for? Let's go. The bright-eyed thief almost went mad with anger. She struggled with all her might and broke free from Yu Yang's big hand that was holding her shoulder. She was about to raise her leg to kick this annoying, shameless man away. However, Yu Yang suddenly grabbed her little hand and dragged her at a very fast speed. She couldn't help but be dragged by him towards the magnificent entrance of the Merry Forest. Please wait a moment, the two of you. Merry Forest has a rule that those who are not dressed properly will not be welcomed. A level 2 brave man guard politely stopped Yu Yang and the bright-eyed thief. As a young, rich, and elegant, distinguished guest in the future, I have to criticize you. Which eye of yours saw that we are not dressed properly? As the saying goes, Whitestone Mountain Youth Gold East, Silver Saddle, White Horse riding Spring Breeze. Fallen flowers travel wherever they go, entering Merry Forest with a smile. We came here to give you face. I heard that Merry Forest is the #1 forest in the world, but who would have thought that the reputation was far from reality? You actually let an illiterate fool guard the entrance instead of a beautiful lady whose fragrance wafts before the figure even approaches to welcome the guests at the entrance. You really spoil the scenery. Do you know what role-playing is? If a genius celebrity like you, who is famous and welcomed by many beauties, revealed his true appearance, wouldn't that be terrible? Wouldn't the beauties inside scream crazily in excitement? Wouldn't they faint from excitement? It's not easy for me to keep a low profile, but who would have thought that it would be so disappointing? I actually met a vulgar, evil servant who looks down on me. Forget it. I say, brother, there are plenty of fish in the sea. How can there be only one Merry Forest? Let's go. Yu Yang shouted arrogantly as he pulled the bright-eyed thief away. Perhaps he was the first customer in the history of Merry Forest to stand at the entrance and scold the guards angrily. If it were someone else, the guards would have thrown that person into the sewers. However, now that Yu Yang had scolded them in such a manner, his words were out of the ordinary and immediately alerted the guard leader who was accompanying the VIP. He hurriedly abandoned the VIP and flew down from the tall balcony. He first gave his subordinate a heavy slap and then respectfully bowed towards Yu Yang. Two young masters have graced us with your presence. This subordinate did not know how to appreciate your graces and has offended you. Please do not lower yourself to the level of a vulgar commoner. Two young masters, please. The guard who blocked the way was scared out of his wits. He quickly knelt down and begged for forgiveness. It was rare in Whitestone City But in the capital of Shangjing, there were indeed some youngsters from large families who liked to dress up as powerless, poor students, or even beggars. They wandered around the streets, using this as a pretext to tease the commoners who valued their appearance. There were also many experts and even officials who liked to pretend to be mercenaries or bandits with low martial strength and tease the beauties in the merry forest for fun. The more famous and powerful a person was, the more they liked to play this kind of game. Even the emperor would go out incognito to patrol. As a level 3 hero, the guard leader had seen many young masters in Shangjing who dressed up like this. Hearing Yu Yang's extraordinary words and eloquence, he was even more convinced that he was a talented and noble heir of a noble family. I don't know who you are, but this fledgling is the assassin who attacked us half a month ago. From the tall balcony, another person jumped down and stared coldly at the bright-eyed thief. This person was tall and skinny, wearing a gorgeous brocade robe with a golden-eyed black eagle embroidered on his chest. His hands that stretched out from his sleeves were like demon claws, and his nose was like an eagle's hook. His long and slender eyes that shone brightly were as sharp as needles when he squinted. The bright-eyed thief snorted lightly and secretly pushed Yu Yang's back. "You should go. I have something to take care of today." Hearing this, Yu Yang rubbed his fists like a fighting maniac. "Fight? I'll help you." Seeing Yu Yang's belligerent appearance, the bright-eyed thief's heart broke out in cold sweat. However, in the face of an enemy, this brat didn't abandon her and run away, which was a bit out of the bright-eyed thief's expectations. Originally, the bright-eyed thief thought that Yu Yang would say, "I'm going to eat supper first. You take your time fighting. We'll pick up girls next time." She didn't expect this shameless guy to be so loyal. The mercenaries passing by saw that there was a show to watch, and all gathered around. Not long after, it was filled with people. Even the guests in the merry forest, after hearing the news, all squeezed to the windows or balconies to watch. Cough, cough, Mr. Wu Yi. Perhaps there is a bit of a misunderstanding. Should we first let go of our enmity and find out the truth? Everyone who came to the merry forest today is a distinguished guest. We really can't bear to start a fight. The guard leader advised the tall and skinny man in a low voice, telling him not to rush into a fight and to find out the identity of the two first. "This fledgling killed my master's beloved concubine. My master has ordered that if she's alive, I want to see her corpse. If she's dead, I want to see her." Merry Forest is not in a position to ask about this. Moreover, they haven't entered the Merry Forest yet. So these two people can't be considered Merry Forest distinguished guests, right? I'll deal with these two at the entrance. And later, I'll definitely bring wine to Master Goldenblade as an apology. The tall and skinny man flatly rejected the possibility of reconciliation and made a secret gesture to the guard leader. When the guard leader saw this, his expression changed greatly, and he immediately retreated to one side. This matter wasn't something a small guard leader like him could handle. What he needed to do now was to turn a blind eye to this matter. "Hurry up and leave." The bright-eyed thief glared hatefully at the tall and skinny man and reached out to push Yu Yang away, urging him to leave. "I see that he doesn't have any meat on his body and would fall apart with a single gust of wind. Why would I be afraid of such an enemy? You don't need to make a move. I alone can beat him until his teeth fall all over the floor. You stand to one side and be in charge of clapping and cheering for me." Yu Yang decided to show off his skills. As a man, if he had a body full of skills but didn't show it off in front of a beauty, wouldn't that be a waste of resources? If he made a move now, it would be a good time to earn some points. Moreover, the eagle-nosed demon claw guy in front of him looked like he deserved a beating. Yu Yang felt that if he didn't ruthlessly beat the other party up, he would really be letting himself down. The bright-eyed thief was a little helpless. "You idiot, do you know who he is? He's a level 3 high-ranked hero, the Demon Claw Wu Yi. He's not some little thief like you can fight against. You get lost right now. If not, you stand to one side and be in charge of clapping and cheering for me. No, you better stand behind me, and don't go more than 3 meters away from me." "You mean this guy's an expert?" Yu Yang felt that he was starting to get lucky, because it seemed like he was about to put on a show of beauty saving the hero. Although I don't want to admit it, in reality, he is indeed a very strong expert. The bright-eyed thief nodded. Don't worry, experts are all meant to be stepped on. Yu Yang consoled her. Weak little ant, come and try stepping on me. The tall, skinny man called Wu Yi sneered. He took out a black crystal from his bosom and muttered something. As a black light spread out, a 6-meter-tall rock puppet was summoned. The moment this giant rock puppet appeared, the surrounding mercenaries all let out a collective gasp of cold air. The place where level 4 rock puppets appeared the most was not in normal mercenary hunting areas, but on the battlefield. Even on the battlefield, this kind of rock puppet, whose entire body was made up of rock and weighed tens of thousands of kilograms, was still an invincible existence. Other than a few extremely large beasts like the mammoth, earthquake dragon, and battle kodo beast, other beasts could only be crushed into meat paste in front of the rock puppet. The rock puppet was a war puppet that was prohibited from being sold by the country. Other than the army or mercenary groups specially approved by the country, no one else was allowed to own it. Yu Yang and the bright-eyed thief were facing a 6-meter-tall rock golem that was also invulnerable to swords and spears. How are they going to fight this battle? Chapter 31. Summoning Grimoire. This was not Yu Yang's summoning, but the bright-eyed thief's. A burst of golden light appeared between the bright-eyed thief's fingers, forming a pale orange barrier of light that enveloped both Yu Yang and the bright-eyed thief's bodies. Summoning grimoire owners were different from normal people. When they fought, their grimoire would automatically produce an extremely strong barrier of light. Until all of the summoned beasts died or the time limit was up, the barrier would not disappear due to external forces. Even if the grimoire received a huge blow, it would still be able to protect the owner's safety. The maximum time limit for a bronze grimoire was 10 minutes. A silver grimoire was twice as long as a bronze grimoire. The bright-eyed thief had summoned a beginner's silver grimoire, which was 3 ranks higher than Yu Yang's beginner's bronze grimoire. In other words, in the next 20 minutes, if the bright-eyed thief summons didn't all die, then even the incredibly powerful rock golems wouldn't be able to break through this barrier that could withstand a direct hit from a siege hammer. You're actually a grimoire owner? The tall and skinny Wu Yi's eyes twitched. At this moment, his expression became very ugly. Wow, a grimoire summoner. Heavens, this thief is actually a grimoire summoner, and a silver grimoire at that. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple. The light is orange, and there's even a golden star flashing on it. This little thief is a level 4 hero. It can't be. There's a level 4 hero in Whitestone City? The people watching from afar cried out in surprise. It must be known that summoning grimoire owners were even rarer than diamonds. Any one of them was a genius warrior that surpassed normal people, or a descendant of a big family with an outstanding bloodline. The young thief in front of him was actually a level 4 champion who possessed a silver grimoire. This was obviously not something that a normal family could nurture. Without the support of a big family or a country, no one would believe that the bright-eyed thief could become a level 4 hero at such a young age. At first, the people thought that the 2 little thieves fighting against Wu Yi had no chance at all. Against a 6-meter-tall rock golem, they would probably be beaten to a pulp with just 2 punches. However, the moment the silver grimoire was summoned, everyone's view of it completely changed. No matter how strong a normal warrior was, it was impossible for them to fight against a genius summoner who possessed a grimoire. A grimoire summoner's body had the protection of a grimoire's light barrier. They could completely safely counter the enemy's summoned beasts and counterattack them. No matter how many beasts a normal warrior could summon, could he summon more beasts than a summoner with a grimoire? To ordinary people, rock puppets were almost invincible existences. However, in front of a grimoire contractor, it was not impossible to deal with it. Every grimoire contractor had a guardian beast that would never truly die. As long as they controlled it carefully, the light barrier would definitely be able to last until the time limit was up. Now, as long as she summoned her beast to attack Wu Yi, The bright-eyed thief wouldn't even need to pay attention to the slow-moving rock golem. She wouldn't even need to pay attention to any of Wu Yi's attacks. She could just summon her beast and kill it. Summon Bewildering Butterfly. The bright-eyed thief's lily-white hands flipped open a few pages of the silver grimoire and pressed her palm lightly on the pages. A golden light seeped out from between her fingers, dazzling the onlooker's eyes. Yu Yang didn't pay attention to these things. He was happily hiding behind the bright-eyed thief, happily enjoying the beautiful scenery behind her. Although her chest wasn't too protruding and belonged to the cute apple type with a lot of room for growth, her buttocks were extremely perky, especially when set off by the tight-fitting nightwear. That perfect curve and that alluring perky perk caused Yu Yang to swallow his saliva fiercely. He regretted that his level 1 divine vision, inherent skill, was unable to see through clothes. Otherwise, on the other side, Wu Yi's expression changed again when he saw the bright-eyed thief immediately summon a colorful butterfly that wasn't much bigger than her palm. If there was an obvious weakness of the rock golem, it would be that it didn't have any intelligence. The rock golem didn't have any intelligence. It didn't have any thoughts. It only had battle instincts. According to its master's orders, it would instinctively attack the nearest enemy, unable to choose an accurate target to attack. The bright-eyed thief's bewildering butterfly didn't have any fighting strength. However, it just so happened to be the rock golem's nemesis. The bewildering butterfly could affect the spiritual connection between the rock golem and its master. As long as it stayed on top of the rock golem's head, the rock golem wouldn't be able to receive its master's orders and wouldn't be able to attack normally. It would only sway like a drunkard, unconsciously pacing back and forth. Seeing the bewildering butterfly appear, the guard leader's expression also changed. This kind of bewildering butterfly wasn't commonly seen. Other than the individual worlds in Tong Tian Tower, it could only be found in the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers. Could it be that this bright-eyed thief, who had attempted to assassinate the Wu Yi family master half a month ago, was actually someone from the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers? The guard leader couldn't be bothered to watch the battle anymore, and immediately rushed inside. Now that the situation was getting more and more intense, the situation was no longer something that a small guard leader like him could control. If he didn't immediately invite the person in charge of the Whitestone City's Merry Forest, Master Goldenblade, to take charge of the situation, the consequences would be unimaginable. People who came from the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers were definitely not to be trifled with. Summon Battle Eagle. The tall and skinny Wu Yi was anxious. He knew that if he didn't get rid of his opponent's bewildering butterfly as soon as possible, his rock golem would be destroyed. Wu Yi took out a shiny yellow crystal stone from his bosom and muttered an incantation, summoning a golden battle eagle with a wingspan of more than 2 meters. The battle eagle was the king of the skies among the bird-type beasts. It was most proficient in hunting and killing flying beasts. Its speed was extremely fast as lightning. Facing a defenseless, bewildering butterfly, it would only take a few seconds for that level 3 warhawk, whose claws could tear apart tigers and leopards, to tear the tiny, bewildering butterfly into pieces. However, after Wu Yi summoned the warhawk, the bright-eyed thief coldly snorted and immediately responded with a summon. Summon the silk-spitting Spider-Woman. A green light flowed out from the bright-eyed thief's fingers. The silver grimoire automatically flipped, and a green light soared into the sky. A monster with the upper body of a human girl and the lower body of a spider appeared on the battlefield. Wah wah! Many of the surrounding mercenaries scattered in all directions. I'm going to faint. This is a monster from the demon abyss. This is a spider demon that can suck people's essence. A man's natural enemy. A brave mercenary insisted on staying behind, but his face was pale with fright. This must have been brought back by the Tong Tian Tower. I dare say that this is definitely a demon brought back by the Tong Tian Tower. It's over. That battle eagle is finished. Among the VIP guests on the balcony of the Merry Forest, there was a warrior who recognized the origin of the half-woman, half-spider monster. He looked at the battle eagle that was spiraling down from the sky and shook his head and sighed. At this moment, Wu Yi's face was filled with despair. He anxiously wanted to control the battle eagle to fly higher, but it was already too late. A white spider silk shot out from the spider demon's mouth. It dispersed with the wind, forming a white spider web that enveloped the battle eagle. The battle eagle was bound and lost its ability to fly, falling heavily to the ground. The spider demon nimbly jumped over, and while the battle eagle was struggling, she quickly attacked. Two terrifying spider fangs pierced into the battle eagle's body, injecting a dark green spider poison into the battle eagle's body. 2 seconds later, the struggling battle eagle started to stiffen, becoming a living corpse that could be slaughtered by humans. Yu Yang grabbed the bright-eyed thief's small hand, secretly taking advantage of her. On the surface, he pretended to be extremely excited as he shouted, "You're really amazing, we won." However, the bright-eyed thief shook her head. "No, it's still too early to say that we won. The opponent is a level 3 hero, and the battle eagle isn't his strongest beast. I reckon that he's still holding back. You should still be able to summon another strong beast. Xiehua, come down and help me buy some time." Wu Yi roared and took out a red crystal the size of fist, beginning his third summon. "If you give me this fledgling's first night, then there's no problem. Isn't it just a bewildering butterfly and a spider demon? In front of me, Xiehua, summoned beasts of this level are not worth mentioning at all." At the entrance of the merry forest, a person's figure flashed like a ghost. His wretched triangular eyes were like a poisonous snake's as he impudently looked at the bright-eyed thief's body, laughing evilly. Yu Yang's expression didn't change, but his heart was exploding with rage. What audacity! This bastard actually dared to have designs on the precious little virgin that he had reserved long ago. It seemed like he was tired of living and wanted to hang himself. Chapter 32. Summon Shadow Leopard. The bright-eyed thief quickly placed her palm on her silver grimoire, preparing to summon her third beast. Too late. The triangular-eyed man who had just flashed out of the door laughed coldly, his voice extremely pleased with himself. Without any summoning action, a small monster covered in black flames appeared behind him. Yu Yang had already seen the beast encyclopedia that Yu Bing had brought back from the academy. He discovered that this small monster looked a bit like the fire essence monster in the encyclopedia. According to the beast encyclopedia, the fire essence monster's attack power was not strong, but it was good at casting fireballs. The fire essence monster was a product of the demon abyss. There was no such evil creature in the soaring dragon continent. Seeing that the triangular-eyed man had a fire essence monster following him without summoning, the mercenaries were all in an uproar. This was not because they were shocked at his strength, but because they despised him. There was an unwritten rule in the world of mercenaries and in duels between martial artists. In a public duel, everyone had to use an open and above-board summoning method to duel. Only the most despicable and shameless people would secretly summon their beasts and launch a sneak attack on their opponent. This triangular-eyed man called Xiehua must have secretly summoned this fire essence monster from the Merry Forest building. He did not come out and waited until Wu Yi was at a disadvantage before coming out to take advantage of the situation. It was already annoying enough that he did not care about a one-on-one duel. He had even summoned his beast first. It was really unbearable. If not for the fact that the mercenaries knew this guy and knew that they were not his opponent, they would have rushed up and hacked him to death. When another devil bee appeared behind the triangular-eyed Xia, everyone was so helpless that they did not even have the strength to scold him. This kind of shameless guy should be struck by lightning. He should not be allowed to live in this world anymore. If Xiehua said that his fire essence monster was not purposely targeting the bright-eyed thief's bewildering butterfly, there might be one or two idiots among the mercenaries who would believe him. However, when this devil bee with yellow and black stripes on its abdomen appeared, even an idiot would understand. This Xiehua, who had an abnormally wretched appearance and an extremely trashy character, was clearly targeting the bright-eyed thief. Combined with what Xiehua had just said about the right to her first night, everyone suddenly felt that even though they were not good people and were a complete mess, compared to Xiehua, they were practically saints. I've seen people with trashy morals, but I've never seen such a trashy person. Bewildering butterflies and other insect-type flying beasts were most afraid of fire or ice. That fire essence monster's fireball would definitely be able to instantly kill the defenseless, bewildering butterflies. As for the powerful spider demoness, her only nemesis was the devil bee. The demon bee's agility allowed it to dodge the spider webs, and, at the same time, it was not afraid of the spider's venom. On the contrary, its stinger could paralyze the spider demoness to death. The bright-eyed thief saw triangle eyes, was two beasts, and was so nervous that her whole body trembled slightly. Following the bright-eyed thief's command, the bewildering butterfly quickly flew up, preparing to fly back into the light barrier and be recalled into the silver grimoire. However, it was too late. The fire essence monster spat out a black fireball that formed a curved parabola. It chased after the bewildering butterfly and finally exploded on its wings. Boom! The bewildering butterfly was blasted into pieces by the black fireball and burned into charcoal. On the other hand, the rock golem that had lost control of the bewildering butterfly immediately moved. It walked over with large strides, raised its huge rock fist, and heavily smashed it towards the shadow leopard that the bright-eyed thief had just summoned. Although it was impossible for the rock golem to hit the shadow leopard that was famous for its speed and stealth, the shadow leopard had no way to fight against the rock golem and could only hurriedly dodge. The rock golem's heavy fist pounded the ground. The huge force was like thunder exploding, causing the ground to tremble. On the other side, the spider demoness let out a terrified scream and quickly escaped towards the light barrier. It continuously jumped a few times and was finally able to escape into the light barrier before the devil bee caught up. Although it managed to escape, it was still trembling in fear. It was obvious that it was incomparably afraid of its nemesis. So this is how summoned beasts fight. Interesting. Yu Yang watched with great interest. He had finally seen a battle between beasts between summoners. In a battle, other than fighting with strength, one also had to fight with wits. Beasts were not omnipotent. The most important thing was to coordinate their battle tactics. For example, a bewildering butterfly would not be able to defeat a battle eagle, but it was extremely effective against the rock golem. The spider demoness was the nemesis of flying beasts, but the devil bee was an exception. The flame essence monster's fireball could instantly kill the bewildering butterfly, but its true battle power was not even 1% of the rock golem's. After watching this battle, Yu Yang came to a conclusion. One thing to counter another. There were no invincible beasts in this world, but there were near-invincible battle tactics and counter-tactics. Now, Yu Yang understood why warriors with summoning grimoires had such a huge advantage. The reason was very simple. It was because a warrior with a grimoire would first have a guardian beast that would never truly die and would never betray him. Secondly, as long as one had a grimoire, there wouldn't be too many restrictions when it came to contracting beasts. They would be able to use more beasts to carry out targeted counterattacks. If Xiehua had not suddenly joined the battle and interfered, Wu Yi, who had been completely suppressed in battle tactics, would probably have been torn to pieces by the shadow leopard. As for now, the bright-eyed thief situation was far from good. Let's go. Wu Yi is about to summon a powerful beast. I can't hold on for long. The bright-eyed thief did not bother to comfort the terrified spider demoness and quickly stuffed an exquisitely crafted scroll into Yu Yang's hands. This is a teleportation scroll. Open it and inject your spiritual energy into it, just like how you summon beasts. Summon beasts? Yu Yang pretended to be innocent as he blinked his star-like eyes. Ah, you don't even know how to summon beasts? The bright-eyed thief felt as if her head had been struck by lightning. Could it be that this brat spent all his time chasing girls? Could it be that he didn't even have a single beast? No wonder he had just applied to be a mercenary a few days ago. This time, she was done for. You want to leave? It won't be that easy. Xiehua laughed sinisterly. He made a very strange gesture and used his dagger to quickly draw a bloody pattern on his palm. The pattern flashed with a red light. Two of the red lights shot towards the sky and exploded like fireworks, scattering the red light in all directions. At this time, a thought wave appeared in Yu Yang's mind. Your enemy is forcing you into a death duel. Before one of you dies, you cannot leave the boundary of the bloody world of death. Otherwise, divine punishment will descend, and all the veins in your body will explode, and you will die. The bright-eyed thief's lily-white hands trembled slightly. It was obvious that she had also received Xiao's death duel message. Xiao's request for a death duel was not without conditions. His face was as pale as paper, and his bloody hand seemed to be swallowed by an invisible monster. His wound continuously split open and bled, even rotting, emitting a foul stench. Die in my place. This is your honor. Ha. Xiao pressed his bloody hand on the flame essence monster's head. The flame essence monster exploded with a bang, its flesh and blood flying everywhere. Well done. Cough, cough. I can finally summon you. Your time of death has come. Wu Yi's eyes, ears, mouth, and nose were all bleeding. He looked extremely terrifying. The excessive consumption of spiritual energy and the forceful summoning that exceeded his limits caused Wu Yi's body to quickly collapse. The strange thing was that the blood that flowed out of his body all turned into a bloody light and flowed towards the red crystal in his fist. In the end, the red crystal, which had absorbed enough blood and spiritual energy, emitted a demonic red light, dyeing a large area around it a bloody red. The surrounding mercenaries all felt an indescribable fear in their hearts. The cowardly mercenaries' teeth started to tremble uncontrollably. The mercenaries were all trembling as if they were in a world of ice and snow. The powerful beast that Wu Yi had used his blood to summon for 3 whole minutes had finally been successfully summoned. Moo! A terrifying howl caused the demon bee that was circling above everyone's head to fall to the ground in fright. It trembled as it crawled, but it was actually unable to spread its wings and fly into the sky. Even though it was safely hiding inside the light barrier, the spider demoness couldn't resist its fear. It turned into a green light and automatically entered the silver grimoire, abandoning its master and escaping the battlefield. Yu Yang saw that a giant bull with dark green skin and blood-red eyes had been summoned by Wu Yi. The mercenaries were so scared that they all scattered in all directions. Not a single one of them dared to stay. Even the warriors who were standing on the balconies of the Merry Forest High building to watch the battle turned pale with fright. They cried out in fear. Heavens, Wu Yi actually summoned a bronze-ranked barbaric bull. Bronze-ranked barbaric bull? Yu Yang curiously asked the bright-eyed thief. Is this the legendary barbaric bull that has Doom's eyes? Chapter 33. Yes, Wu Yi actually summoned the bronze barbaric bull. It's a bronze-ranked beast. We're finished. The bright-eyed thief's voice was filled with fear. My guardian beast is a flower fairy with no attack power. It's not a match for the bronze barbaric bull at all. If I had known earlier, I would have summoned the shadow leopard to attack from the start. Maybe I could have killed Wu Yi that way. Now, what do you think we should do? The bright-eyed thief helplessly looked at Yu Yang with her last hope. At this moment, Yu Yang could clearly see the despair and fear in her bright eyes. This delicate and pitiful look was very similar to Queen Vivian Lee's when she was imprisoned in the black hole space. Roar! The time to save the damsel in distress had arrived. In an instant, Yu Yang's manly desire to protect her exploded. He hugged the bright-eyed thief's delicate shoulders and comforted her softly. Isn't it just a bull? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I'll kill it for you. With Yu Yang's comforting words, the bright-eyed thief's eyes reddened instead. Her voice was choked with sobs. You idiot. That's not a normal bull. It's a bronze barbaric bull. As long as it stares at us, we'll all lose our lives. What do we do now? We need to think of a way. Otherwise, we'll all die here. I don't want to die. I still haven't taken my revenge. I really don't want to die. Aren't you a genius? Quickly think of a way. Don't worry. I've already thought of a way to deal with it. Yu Yang took out a dagger that was too small to be used to cut fruits. You want to rush out? The bright-eyed thief thought that Yu Yang was going to rush out and kill Wu Yi. As long as Wu Yi died, the bronze barbaric bull that he had summoned would quickly disappear and cease to exist. However, would it really be that easy to kill Wu Yi now? Forget about Xiehua. How could a little thief who had just become a mercenary a few days ago be able to fight against Wu Yi's combat skills? The bright-eyed thief felt that if Yu Yang rushed out to fight, he would just be throwing his life away. Even if the bronze barbaric bull didn't smash him to death, trample him to death, or stare him to death, he would still be torn to pieces by the battle eagle that had recovered its strength. Even if he managed to reach Wu Yi against a high-rank 3 hero like Wu Yi, who possessed exquisite combat techniques, what could a thief who had just become a mercenary do with a dagger that cost 50 copper coins? What could he do? He might not even be able to touch a single hair on Wu Yi's head before being killed by Wu Yi on the spot. Leaving the protection of the light barrier and rushing out to risk his life was definitely a suicidal and foolish move. When the bright-eyed thief thought of this, she hurriedly grabbed Yu Yang's wrist and said seriously, "I still have one last attack, but the chances of success are extremely low. You should run for your life. If you can survive after you get out of the bloody world of death, go to the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers for me, and tell the leader of the valley that I've died in the battle." You want to reverse the situation? What wishful thinking. Xiao's face was sinister and terrifying as he laughed coldly. He took out a black crystal and held it in his hand. Chanting a strange incantation, he spat out a mouthful of blood onto the black crystal. The body of the devil bee that was lying prone on the ground exploded into pieces with a bang. Dark green blood and broken limbs splattered everywhere. The shadow leopard that had been hiding in the darkness of the night was immediately exposed when the blood splattered everywhere. The rock golem immediately raised its huge fist. In the sky, the battle eagle, which was even faster than the rock golem, had already swooped down. Because the spider demoness had escaped from the battlefield, the poison and spider webs quickly disappeared. Although the shadow leopard's battle strength had been weakened, it wasn't reduced by too much. It still had the strength to fight. The battle eagle swooped down like a gust of wind, clawing at the shadow leopard's back. Rumble. The bronze barbaric bull's forehooves stomped on the ground as it charged forward like a bolt of lightning. A ball of flame shot out from the bronze barbaric bull's nose and exploded on the shadow leopard's back. Following that, the bronze barbaric bull caught up to the injured shadow leopard. It lowered its head and used its hard head and 2 horns to attack with the force of a battering ram. The shadow leopard cried out miserably as its entire body was sent flying. It couldn't help but tumble in the air. When the shadow leopard fell heavily on the ground, the bronze barbaric bull rushed over and used its huge blood-red eyes to stare at the shadow leopard. With a flash of red light, faster than lightning, the shadow leopard turned into a corpse and fell to the ground. In just an instant, the shadow leopard was killed on the spot by the bronze barbaric bull's doom's eyes. Heavens! The warriors who were watching from the windows and balconies of the merry forest were all sweating profusely from fright. Although the probability of the bronze barbaric bull's doom's eyes was very low, this kind of instant kill that ignored everything was too terrifying. Doom's eyes, other than the rock golem which had no life, could only be resisted by the guardian beasts of grim war contractors. If a normal warrior or beast were to be hit by the bronze barbaric bull's doom's eyes, they would definitely not be able to survive. The bright-eyed thief who was summoning her strongest beast to fight the enemy didn't even have the time to summon it. The shadow leopard had already been killed by the bronze barbaric bull. Her mind immediately felt as if it had been struck by lightning. The death of a beast had a huge impact on its master, whose mind was connected to it. The bright-eyed thief usually found it hard to bear. Now that she was concentrating on summoning her beast, the damage to her mind was even greater. She spat out a mouthful of blood, staining the black cloth covering her face. The bright-eyed thief's body swayed, but before she fainted and fell to the ground, she reached out to Yu Yang. "Quick, go!" Yu Yang hurriedly reached out and hugged the soft, fragrant body that fell to the ground. If he had acted earlier, the the bright-eyed thief wouldn't have fainted due to the damage to her mind. However, Yang didn't want to reveal his true strength in front of his brother, at least not now. Thus, he waited until the last moment to act. As for the spectators in the Merry Forest, or Wu Yi and Xiehua, in Yu Yang's eyes, they were all dead people. As the bright-eyed thief fainted, the light barrier immediately disappeared. The silver grimoire also turned into a golden light and floated into the bright-eyed thief's body. When the rock golem, battle eagle, and bronze barbaric bull saw that the light barrier had disappeared, they immediately rushed towards Yu Yang. Ha 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 ha! Wu Yi and Xiehua laughed happily. They had already fought together like this more than 100 times and were very familiar with each other. If it wasn't for the pressure of facing a level 4 hero with a silver grimoire, Wu Yi wouldn't have taken a risk of being devoured and forcefully summoned the bronze barbaric bull. So noisy. Yu Yang hated it the most when people laughed like this. This was because he felt that arrogant laughter had always been his trademark. Now that he saw Wu Yi and Xiehua laughing so complacently, he felt very uncomfortable. He felt that these two repulsive fellows had plagiarized his trademark. Yu Yang pointed his finger and summoned his bronze grimoire. A faint red light quickly appeared, forming a faint red light barrier that enveloped him and the bright-eyed thief. The bronze barbaric bull crashed into the red light barrier, but the huge force only caused a slight ripple on the surface of the red light barrier before it disappeared without a trace. The rock golem's heavy fist that could shatter the earth also had no effect on the red light barrier. The battle eagle that had swooped down from the sky was the weakest, so was directly repelled by the red light barrier. Another grimoire contractor? However, he's only a beginner apprentice? Haha, idiot. He's only a beginner apprentice, yet he still wants to struggle? What a joke. Thorny flower? Ah. This won't do. I'm going to die from laughter. He actually summoned a thorny flower. My God, I really want to see how he will use a thorny flower to kill my rock golem and bronze barbaric bull. Wu Yi laughed so hard that tears flowed from his eyes. I'd rather fight against an expert. There's no point in killing noobs. Xiehua directly ignored Yu Yang, who was a beginner apprentice. Haha, I'm the opposite. I really like to oppress noobs, especially listening to their screams before they die. It's really memorable. Wu Yi licked his lips, as if he was a hungry ghost preparing to gorge himself on a delicious meal. In his eyes, Yu Yang, a beginner apprentice, was just a newbie that he could torture to death. Even if Yu Yang was a grimoire contractor, Wu Yi did not put him in his eyes at all. A beginner apprentice could only summon one beast per day. This little thief in front of him had already summoned a thorny flower. In the following battle, even a fool would not think that he would be able to use a thorny flower to defeat the invincible rock golem and the bronze barbaric bull that had Doom's eyes. The warriors on the Merry Forest Tower all shook their heads and sighed. Right now, even if the gods descended from the god realm, they would not be able to help this little thief turn defeat into victory. This little thief would definitely not be able to defeat Wu Yi. Not to mention, there was still Xiehua, who was even stronger than Wu Yi. As long as the time limit of the red light barrier was up, these two little thieves would be easily crushed in a meat paste by the rock golem and the bronze barbaric bull. Isn't it just a stupid bull? What's there to be arrogant about? Yu Yang did not stand inside the red light barrier. He swaggered out, leaving the bright-eyed thief and the thorny flower inside the red light barrier. His action made all the martial artists watching the battle dumbfounded. The owner of the grimoire could not leave the halo barrier. Otherwise, the halo barrier would immediately disappear. How'd this little thief walk out from inside? Was everyone's eyes playing tricks on them, or was it a real miracle? Chapter 34. The bronze barbaric bull was the first to rush up, its blood-red eyes flashing with the light of death. Everyone believed that this little thief was finished. He was definitely going to die. When the bronze barbaric bull's eyes lit up, it meant that the instant kill, Doom's eyes, was activated. In the next second, this little thief's soul would be completely destroyed, turning into a soulless corpse. The guard leader had already closed his eyes, unable to bear to watch. 2 grimoire contractors had died in Whitestone City. Whitestone City was destined to be embroiled in a chaotic war. Perhaps the whole city would be filled with rivers of blood. The power behind these 2 thieves would definitely not give up on revenge so easily. Especially the strongest level 4 hero, a grimoire contractor from the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers. The guard leader could not imagine the price that had to be paid to nurture such a young level 4 hero with a silver grimoire. How could the Valley of Butterflies and Flowers let this matter rest when such a genius warrior was killed? However, even if the guard leader knew that disaster was imminent, he could not stop Wu Yi and Xiehua from joining hands to kill these 2 extraordinary little thieves. This was because the power behind Wu Yi and Xiehua was also incomparably huge. This matter was not something that a small guard leader like him could provoke. He had originally hoped that Master Golden Blade, who had gone out with the Whitestone City Lord, would be able to rush back in time to prevent this disaster from happening. But now it seemed that everything was too late. Ha ha ha. In the field, Wu Yi's complacent laughter resounded. His laughter was like that of an owl, making everyone feel depressed. However, after 3 seconds, his laughter was like a knife cutting through the air. If someone had said that a level 5 bronze barbaric bull's Doom's Eyes could not kill a little thief, everyone would have thought that that person was crazy. But now, the truth was right in front of them. Yu Yang's figure flashed, then returned to normal. All the warriors who had seen the result of the battle were petrified. Their mouths were so wide open that a battle Kodo beast could fit inside. This result was also a little unexpected for Yu Yang. He had originally thought of a way to deal with the bronze barbaric bull, which was to use Phantom Shadow, a guardian beast that would never truly die, to prevent the bronze barbaric bull's Doom's Eyes. The instant the bronze barbaric bull activated Doom's Gaze, Yu Yang's figure had already dodged away, leaving only an afterimage. He hoped to test the true power of Doom Gaze through this shadow. Was an instant kill or ineffective? In that second, Yu Yang, through the phantom that was attacked by Death's Gaze, could feel that in the mysterious space of his consciousness, there was an image that was as fast as lightning, an image that was inconceivably fast. It emerged from the soul of the bronze barbaric bull, pounced into his consciousness, and then disappeared in a flash. That death-like figure seemed to want to capture the phantom in his space of consciousness, but grabbed nothing and obviously did not notice that he was watching all this. After the attack missed, the Grim Reaper image quickly disappeared, returning to nothingness. In that instant, Yu Yang sensed a lot of wonderful and mysterious information. He felt excited as if he had seen through the truth. He discovered that after this revelation, his divine vision ability had miraculously improved. An impulse arose in Yu Yang's soul. If I had used the binding chain just now, I might have been able to capture this Grim Reaper's image instead. What were the consequences of capturing the Grim Reaper's image? Yu Yang was not sure, but he believed that it would not be a bad thing. It was worth a try. It was a pity that he was too cautious just now and did not use the binding chain on the Grim Reaper's image that disappeared in a flash. Although he missed the opportunity to attack, Yu Yang was still indescribably excited. He discovered that after his divine vision improved, he could actually see the hidden abilities of the phantoms. For example, there was the ability to fuse multiple shadows together, forming a giant shadow. The giant shadow existed for a very short time, only 1 minute. Every time a shadow was added, the time could only be extended by around 30 seconds. However, this kind of giant shadow that could only exist for a short time had super strong strength. It was practically equivalent to a Titan giant. When Yu Yang added the 5 phantoms together, forming a giant shadow, and used it to strengthen himself, he was shocked to find that his strength had soared by at least 100 times. Although the time limit was less than 3 minutes, the current Yu Yang was completely confident that he could wrestle with the rock golem. F***CK. Could it be that Ultraman's transformation is like this? Yu Yang stretched out his hands that had been strengthened by the giant shadow and tightly grasped the bronze barbaric bull's sharp, curved horn. From the bottom of his heart, Yu Yang could not help but let out an incomparably powerful roar. A woo! The sound was like a thunderclap, shaking the heavens and the earth, causing everyone to turn pale. The bronze barbaric bull, whose body was like a wall, was forcibly flipped over by Yu Yang's huge strength. Because this was the first time Yu Yang had used the giant shadow's strength, he had used too much strength and did not grasp the point of impact. One of the bronze barbaric bull's incomparably hard horn broke into two, with Yu Yang's original intention was not to overturn the bronze barbaric bull, but to lift it up and use its body to smash the rock golem. He did not expect that he would not lift it up, but only overturn the bronze barbaric bull, and even break its horn by mistake. None of the spectators knew that this was caused by Yu Yang's mistake. Instead, they thought that he had deliberately broken the bull's horn to display his terrifying strength. In an instant, the spectating warriors were all scared out of their wits, their faces ashen. Heavens! Is this the strength of a human? I'm going to faint. Illusion! This is an illusion. I don't believe it. I definitely don't believe it. This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Wu Yi was unwilling to believe the truth. He felt that everything in front of him was an illusion, that this little thief in front of him had used a beast that knew hypnotism to confuse him. A normal human strength was simply not enough to overturn a level 5 bronze barbaric bull. It was even more impossible to break its horn. That was the hardest part of its body. It was 10 times harder than steel. How could he use his bare hands to forcefully break it? Furthermore, even if this little thief really had such great strength, he would not be able to survive under the bronze barbaric bull's doom's eyes. Unless it was an extremely strong warrior whose strength far surpassed the bronze barbaric bull, or a level 6 great grandmaster who was only a hair's breadth away from becoming an innate, normal warriors would definitely not be able to withstand the bronze barbaric bull's doom's eyes, which ignored the body's defense and directly destroyed the soul. Could it be that this little thief in front of him was a level 6 great grandmaster? This was impossible. He was obviously a level 1 beginner apprentice. If Wu Yi believed that he was a level 6 great grandmaster, he might as well believe that his own father was a woman. The next scene caused the spectating warriors to turn from stone to weathered. Everyone felt that they might as well let a gust of wind blow them away and just die. This kind of result was really unacceptable, because the rock golem that had originally rushed to the little thief's side with its giant fists raised, preparing to turn him into a meat patty, had actually rebelled under the little thief's caress. The rock golem that did not have any intelligence or thoughts raised its giant fists and ruthlessly smashed the bronze barbaric bull that was still lying on the ground. After the little thief had stretched out his hand, it had become his summoned beast. This was simply impossible. Puppet-type battle puppets would definitely not rebel. This was their biggest characteristic. Because they had no intelligence, they only had battle instincts. Therefore, they did not know what rebellion was. Once they signed a contract, they could only forever be subservient. What made Wu Yi feel the most despair was that in his consciousness, he could feel that the rock golem that was currently beating the bronze barbaric bull had not rebelled at all. It was still his summoned beast, but it was being controlled by an unknown external force. It simply did not listen to his commands and acted on its own, attacking the bronze barbaric bull on its own. A rock golem that took up a summoning slot and did not listen to its master's commands. Wouldn't that be the greatest tragedy of his life? Wu Yi really wanted to cry, but he could not cry. He wanted to die, but he did not have the time to brandish his dagger. This was because the little thief, who only had the strength of a beginner apprentice, was already standing in front of him, looking down at him with a condescending attitude. At this moment, Wu Yi felt that he was extremely insignificant. If the other party was like a ferocious tiger that wanted to devour people, then he felt that he was like a little mouse that did not even have the qualifications to fill the gaps between the other party's teeth. This was the first time in his life that he felt so weak and so afraid. Aren't you an expert? Why don't you laugh at me again? Why don't you show me how awesome you are? Yu Yang kicked the trembling Wu Yi to the ground. Ignoring the surrounding gazes, he trampled on Wu Yi's body without the slightest scruple, beating him up. Seeing a level 1 beginner apprentice beating up a level 3 hero, everyone had the urge to smash their heads into tofu. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.